All right. Yeah.
There we go.
All right, clicking off stream entropy. All right. Yeah, there we go. Andrew, that's a good one.
Do I dare read chat?
We'll
Chat
read it
is-
after 3 minutes. We'll read it.
Are you ready? So true.
An idea where the foot doesn't drag me away.
Did you see that? I'm already starting off. Did you see that lovely tweet earlier today?
By Fentanyl Blowdart or no?
No. Was it Fentanyl? Whoever it was, whoever, I know he's single, but it was a little great play where he was just like, the wife caught what she is in my contacts list. And then it said Foyd, and then in parentheses it said wife, but it had a phone number attached to the screenshot of his contacts list.
Oh no!
And everyone was like,
that out.
And everyone's like, dude, you need to like delete the tweet. And he's like, how do I delete? Which I mean is a great bit, because obviously the poster in question, I've been told, is not married. So whoever's number that is, enjoy.
That was like New Kelly had that one tweet. He's like, I don't know how, where this person's like, that's so racist, you should delete it. He's like, I don't know how.
I'm new to Twitter, I don't know how. What do you mean? How do I delete
100th burner account?
You know, there's just like an army of Mel Gibson fan accounts that are waiting in the background. It was Will Stansel's number.
Oh no!
God, please be
That's
true.
Terrible.
God, please be true. That's so damn funny.
You know what's funny is that Mel Gibson fan account, he's now a dedicated Nick Rekieta A-log. It's pretty funny.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, but anyways.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gents. Hello, Captain K.
And if we don't catch you, good morning, good evening, and good night.
That is literally where I pulled that from, yeah.
Yeah.
But I realized it worked when I started looking at the demographics of my audience, because most of it is the Anglosphere, and then there's just a few odd pockets of the rest of the world in there. And then I was like, oh, that's perfect. That works perfect. And I'm going to totally crib that from The Truman Show. No one cares. No one's called me out on my bullshit for 4 years.
Who is his best friend? Was it Dash Mihok, or was it who was it, his best friend?
The movie in the film?
Yeah, the actor. Truman's best. Oh no, Noah Emmerich. Yeah.
Is that Nolan Emmerich's brother?
No,
it doesn't say so.
No.
He's related to Toby Emmerich. Okay, he's just his own guy. Got it.
Yeah, I remember he was on like a bunch of like noir type of movies.
I know he was big in like the Americans.
90s. Oh yeah.
He was in Pride and Glory. I don't know what else he's been in. I just know him from this movie.
Copland was pretty good. That was with De Niro and I think it was one of the only films that Stallone and De Niro and Ray Liotta like worked together. Oh, it had what's his name in it? Harvey Keitel too. That was.
Well, there you go.
Harvey Keitel. Yeah. Guys who's doing the logo dataless bit selfie bit with Stoncil. Did you see that tweet from Logo where he's like about racism and like racist frogs and how like it doesn't make it, like it was some like convoluted, like I don't know, he's like tried to do the whole like I'm counter signaling all the people I used to hang out with sort of deal, but he was saying like it doesn't make sense because of the Orc brand meme. That Orc brand denounced, by the way, about like it's incredible how tolerant the race community is. He's like
he's denounced that tweet.
Yeah, but like then of course you have like leftoids in Logo's replies that don't know the history. One of them is like, that like nationalism and racism that's starts with an I, ends with est. Did you hear that? This is like a psychoanalytic paper that has been going around since like the 1980s that like right wingers have this like secret desire because like to fetishize like one's own people and nation is inherently in zest, zesty. So
that sounds pretty fake and gay to me, Gio.
Well, it's like I think it comes from.
If that were true, like what demographics are you measuring? Like Pakistani nationalists?
No, but it's not like in a physical sense. It's more of like a psychoanalytic critical theory, like it's an inherent like Oedipalized complex to be a nationalist. That's like a lot of like these radfem philosophers like Irigaray talk about this, or like even Susan Sontag.
For the sake of the stream and monetization, I will withhold my opinion on that. I just think that's projection.
Well, even like that essay, Fascinating Fascism by Susan Sontag goes into this, and like how like far right politics has like a secret certain role play elements of extreme variety, let's say, like how they all wear leather and
this domination. Sounds like a certain projection from a certain. I'd rather not read a whole bunch of
it's where she says like beauty is like fetishizing beauty is fascism inherently. Like I know Bab talks about that.
I'm gonna hold my tongue before I get you in trouble, and myself.
Anyways, no, it's actually a pretty good essay, although you have to like read it like as opposition research. You know what I mean? Like it's actually, but no, this is a critical theory strand that's been going on in academia forever. Like, like people that are nationalists or right wingers, that they have like this Oedipal complex, and anyways, but speaking of what, like, it's very funny when these people talk about blue sky, like we were talking about last week.
Look, Ma, I'm deconstructing. Yeah, that's how it feels. Absolutely.
It feels like they are in like this weird Oedipalized like cocoon that they want to. You know what I mean? Like
I get what you're saying, Gio. I just can't say my honest opinion on the air.
Okay. We'll save it for. We had an idea to do like paywalled episodes. But
yeah, I'm glad we haven't done that.
We could though,
because then I'd really go off the chain, and I'd rather not. It's not even that it's academic smut. It's just that I can't say my honest opinion as to what I think about it.
She's actually an alright writer, Susan Sontag. But then when it comes to exactly. It's where Susan Sontag analyzes the films of Leni Riefenstahl. So. It's a pretty infamous or famous essay, whether you want to look at it, but it's called Fascinating Fascism, and I think you can find it for free. Yeah, do a Rumble stream, do a Kick stream. Well, maybe one day.
Well,
we could definitely.
I have the option. Thing. Well, I use the paid version of StreamYard, so I mean I could restream over there.
How do you restream on Rumble? Because I hate that like.
You have to YouTube. Just put in the the stream key and the RTPM server and all that stuff and
I'm sure there's tutorials how to do it, because like I'm thinking of starting a Rumble channel, and because like, but then you have to like physically upload all of your episodes onto Rumble. It's terrible.
Post it to Odyssey like American Krogan.
Whatever happened to American Krogan?
He stopped.
Really?
Yes.
Why? Like, what happened? Was he like doxxed or something?
No. Just it wasn't. It's not my place to say. I mean, I think he told Frody as to why, and I think he has an interview telling him as to why he kind of stopped making content. But
okay.
Yeah, it's not my place. He's sort of, I guess, what he would say, retired.
There's a lot of people like that. Yeah, like I think I watched a few videos of his. Yeah, he got banned on YouTube, and then
his take on BioShock is still one of the best video game review essays I have ever seen.
How did he get banned off of YouTube?
For the same reason a lot of time. Not enough money to dedicate to full time is what I remember hearing. Yeah, it was a financial issue.
Yeah.
John Tron is basically retired too. Yeah, but I mean, he's hundreds of millions, and also got married, and he's good. He's doing the PewDiePie, I can retire now after making my normie slop, and I'm good to go. And oh, by the way, I'm right wing. Fuck you.
He's never disavowed his opinions, only like slightly, just for optics' sake. He's never like actually gone the full like. He never like bowed to Daddy Vaush. Remember when Daddy Vaush would like absolve YouTubers of their sins of right wingery? Like he did that. He tried to do that with. Well, I guess like it's a moot point because Shuan has like a trad wife now, so it doesn't really matter.
I guess.
Well, she was like trying to be a leftist YouTuber for a while. Like, you know what's funny? I could probably be a leftist. Like, if I like reinvented, like if I used an AI voice, I could probably do like a left coded video essay better than these guys. But
well, yeah, because you fundamentally understand leftist positions in theory better than 90% of these guys. That's sort of the irony of it all.
That's what I wanted to. I wanted to read this thread that Nightmare Vision originally commented on before we get to Kondylis. Did you see that one where it's like this viral thread about like right wingers, they don't understand, blah blah blah, and there was this other one about like aesthetic truth too as well. But they're really like I hate to stereotype people like because I figure like if we were dealing with the new left, like say of the 1970s or 80s, then we would be much different. But I think nowadays, like the average like garden variety leftist poster, like just doesn't have a very sufficient understanding of like right wing psychology and like why people believe in what we believe in. It's just a fact. It's like an iron law. But anyways, this is the Digital Archipelago 109 Planetary Politics Part Duh. I my favorite version of Apocalypse Now is of course the director's cut because the scene in the French colony explains everything. And years ago, I did a video that was like an hour long breaking down the significance of Apocalypse Now. No, you can't talk about the article this early. And
I do agree though that if we were dealing with the new left of the 70s and 80s, we would be in a pretty shitty position. Well, also, even if you were like really participatory in right-wing politics, because I mean, the 70s and 80s is not a good time to be a new right guy, especially after Reagan gets elected. And so,
isn't that funny, eh?
Well, I mean, it's the same thing that we saw with the neoconservatives and the old right paleocons of like the Sam Francis kind of era. And so I'm very curious to see what happens as this plays out.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking? I was thinking like doing a content minded, but I guess like I shouldn't bogart this idea. Like I was thinking we could get like but then we could both get like Nightmare Vision to talk about the development of the new right from the 80s onwards, because he's pretty good at that type of like old head lore of what was going on in the 80s to the 2000s and in a lot of these like neocon versus paleocon circles. So
I'm doing a little bit of that, not with Nightmare Vision, but Ryan Turnipseed and I are going to record this Thursday, and we're going to talk about these battles, the betrayal of the American right, the new right papers, and what happened during the 80s, and if this whole thing is actually playing out the way that we did.
Okay.
But I mean, I would love to get Nightmare Vision on. That's like the dream goal. It would be night owls without the mouth sounds.
No, we definitely could do it. Well, we could like, I mean, we get Turnipseed for something too.
Well, yeah, I'm not opposed to that at all. I'm just saying that that's already on my that's already on my calendar.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just I feel sad now.
Why?
Because you're doing it already, and anyways.
Well, I have to make my own shit.
I know. But we'll see what happens, you know, because we can cover the same topic. But I don't know, because you know why I have this like weird thing where I hate recycling content. Like even like when I do YouTube shorts, it's like I'm like, well, I know it's for promotional value, but to like recycle content to me is like, I don't know. I should get over that because there's people that make a living off of just like focusing on like one or two things and they do it forever. And I can't do that though. I have to like paint with many colors. You know what I mean?
I mean, this is the many such cases of, I don't know. There are so many guys that will like make one thing their philosophical lens to view all things, and then this becomes the way they go. Like the works of Rene Girard have been just grounded to a fine powder,
bastardized,
and bastardized by how many accounts trying to make sense of the world through this Girardian lens, and it's just like, you know. So I think it's okay to be somewhat of a specialist, even if you need to paint the canvas with many colors, because you approach things so differently and diverse. So it's okay. And also it depends on what role you want to play. But like you and I are not Warren McIntyre. We're not boomer whisperers. We're on Twitter, so you don't have to be.
Although it's funny though, because when I actually do paint, I tend to stick to a limited palette. But because like, you know, you just get like better color harmony that way if you only have like 4 to 5 to 6 colors. Like I'm back in the day, I used to like, you know, I used to like, oh, I have to buy this tube, I have to buy that tube. But then after a while, you're sort of like, well, you know, if you know like the pigments that you're working with, and it's like it gets kind of redundant. Like you could do very, very many things with just like a split limited palette. Because I was like going through my old work because I had this incident in my house. I have been working out in a while because a pipe almost burst, like the drain pipe in our basement. And you know, because my old man's a contractor, so he knows people, so it wasn't that terrible. But like, it was terrible in that like they had to jackhammer out. We had to like jackhammer out the basement, and we had to like replace the pipe, and like there's just dust everywhere. So I just finished like setting up my weight room again, but then it compelled me to like go through all of my old paintings. And like most of them are crap that I'm just gonna like recycle or like give away for a gift or whatever. But like, I don't know, man. It's like this is from like 10, 15 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh man, I did that. Like, and
well, someone out there wants an early Gio painting. I guarantee it.
I have like really early ones, like these little abstract works I did on paper that maybe I'll like do a stream on my earliest stuff. Maybe that'll be an art stream I could do. Like, because you know, some people like they'll go through their sketchbook on YouTube, like these art tube people. Like maybe I could do something like that, you know?
You should.
A lot of it is crap though. Like a lot of it is. But anyways, Steve, those super chats. The entropy link is there. I prefer if you use entropy, although YouTube ain't, you know, that bad. Steve,
we are blessed in this day and age as right wingers to not have to worry about. Well, no, we still have to, but we haven't been demonetized yet, unlike so many people that have come before us. Yeah, so we're very blessed.
Exactly.
Well, we're just blessed to have viewership. Period.
Yeah, that's true. But anyways, what shall we cover first? We didn't go through the cabinet picks. I mean, me and I recorded the war report yesterday, and it came out today. So go check that out after the stream. But did you give your hot takes on his cabinet picks yet?
No, I really haven't, because I haven't paid too close attention. I'm really just gonna wait until we get him inaugurated, because there's so much stuff that can happen now, between now and when he says I solemnly swear to defend the Constitution. So until then, I'm gonna hold off on any hot takes. I think so far that the takes they could be way worse. And so I think that he's made a trade-off on his foreign policy agenda for all the people screeching and reeing about that. He's gotten, I guess, it's a loyalist, people with an axe to grind, and I'm fine with that. And again, we'll see once the Senate decides to do everything. I'm very tired of this kabuki theater where Nancy Mace is upset about the Troon congressperson, because it's just like, well, okay, Nancy, but remember, you were from the Citadel, formerly all-male institution. I never thought the penises would come to my space, says the woman whose space has been, who's invaded male spaces. Who would have guessed, Oh, my. But that's entertaining, to say the least, at least a little bit, in my personal opinion. She put out the little sign. It's all great little theater, and it's all dumb. Yeah. But, I can't believe that we have to put up with this. Imagine showing this to, Eric Cantor circa 2006. And I don't like Eric Cantor for obvious reasons, but, this is pretty entertaining to consider. It's just this is the world that you live in, and this is what you have to put up with. And this is the bed that we've made, and the craziness therein. Moral majority types have never recovered. Who would have guessed? But I don't know. There's not much news that I've been paying attention to all that much. I think that the usual hullabaloo and fear over what may come or what is to happen with the war is still happening. But I don't think we'll see any real movement on a lot of things until after Trump is sworn in.
Yeah. No, it's true because there's a high turnover rate as well in the first Trump administration. I mean, if these people are as loyal as they say, then maybe there will be significantly less high turnover rate. But you never know, right? Like it'll be like a very touch and go type of thing. I mean, the foreign policy stuff. I mean, it's pretty obvious when it comes to the Middle East. That war isn't going away anytime soon.
Well, no.
And there's people that believe that, people were fine with Trump because of it, like the more, ardent Zionist neocons. But then you never know, right?
Although if you break down the donor base, it was Jewish donors overwhelmingly went for Kamala.
That's right, yeah. But I mean...
But in terms of foreign policy, yes, Trump is going to be the more pro-Israel candidate.
Yeah.
You will see a departure, of course, from any sort of attempts to reignite the JCPOA. There will be, I guess, some attempt at the Abraham Accords to be remended and try and bring some situation. I mean, again, he doesn't have to run for re-election, so
yeah, he could do. Yeah, he
can kind of do whatever he wants, and that gives you way more leeway to get policy done. I mean, remember, Obama, after becoming essentially a lame duck in 2014, just said, fuck it, I'm going to make the Democratic Party as progressive as humanly possible.
And every cultural victory imaginable, yeah.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, after the 2014 midterms, like, what just came out of nowhere? I mean, you got, well, not really out of nowhere, but you got gay marriage legalized, terrible day in America, in 2015, and, of course, you're pushing for all of the, free community college, proto Medicare for all, DACA, we're going to legalize Dreamers. I've got a pen and all that jazz. And basically,
Michael Brown happened.
Oh, well, that was in 2014.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's true. And so every proto libtarded thing that we kind of still deal with today, and also this is the rise of the SJW and everything like that, does have its, like, I guess, like, modern day political origin point, at least in the time frame in Barack Obama's presidency, which is awful.
Yeah.
Nothing good I can say about it, but also...
The one thing that he couldn't do, though, was anything to do with the Second Amendment, even though, let's not say it for YouTube, but that one incident that happened at that one infamous school that they demolished, like, they couldn't do it. Like, it was actually... A lot of Democrats were, like, stunned at the fact that that incident just happened and no real national ban on anything was really going to stick. Because, like I said this before, there's something very metaphysical about arms in America. Like, there's something about the American spirit that will fundamentally resist taking away the guns.
Well, we'll see.
So, yeah.
After, we'll see in about 20 years.
Yeah, true. I mean... But as opposed to, like, other Anglosphere countries, like here in Canada, or especially like the UK or Australia, I mean, Obama did make it incredibly hard to open up any bullet factories, and also like foreign exports of arms and bullets. Munitions in general was like, yeah, that's why you have to pay. How much is it for a 9mm round? Like $1.50 or something in America?
It depends on where you decide, where you live and where you're going to get them. But I mean, ammo prices also shot through the roof due to the coup. But yes, Obama's policies did not make it any easier, to say the least.
Yeah. But he really fundamentally couldn't do anything about it. And to the point where in this election cycle, and even in 2020, there were really no, like, the Democrats have seemed to, like, abandon the whole, like, gun control thing because they know that it's just not a winning issue. Like, even the most ardent libtard knows that it's not going to work.
Yeah, the only people who make gun control like a very serious political issue for them is white Democrats. Because it's like climate change and guns are the safest issues that white Democrats can campaign on because they just disproportionately hurt white people. And so, disarming yourself against a horde of immigrants, of course, is like the only safe thing that you can campaign on. And that's how it's going to be. That's how it's always going to be. Which is unfortunate, to say the least. But nevertheless, of course, it's going to be like that.
Yeah, I think, during the coup, for like ammo went up, like, skyrocketed to where like one round was like $1 or something. But in Canada,
that you had to wait just for stuff to get in due to shipping.
Yeah, I mean, they say that like a lot of the old school, like Cold War era, like ammo dumps, that like that's becoming rare as well. Like to get certain rounds from that was manufactured between the 60s to the 80s. Like they say because especially because of the Ukrainian war, they say a lot of those older stockpiles are being depleted as well. Um, but I mean, it is what it is. In Canada, they recently freeze the sale, exchange, and of all handguns. But I mean, I think Polyev, who knows what's going to happen if he gets elected in a year or 2 years, if he'll reverse that. But because it was already very difficult.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath either. But it was already very difficult to procure a handgun in Canada. But well, there's also like a bunch of other weird, stupid regulations on magazines and ammunition, and like you have to have like certain blockers. Like for example, you can only have 3 shells in a shotgun in Canada. Did you know this?
Like in the tube?
Yes, you have to put a wooden blocker in the tube, so you only have 3 shells.
Unreal.
In Ontario. Yeah, it's totally unreal. But it doesn't make any difference. Like what do you think's going to happen if there's 5 shells? Don't some shotguns, like they say they could hold up to 12 shells, or I think it's just standard 5, right?
It depends on the make and model, Gio.
Yeah. But like I know in Ontario it's only 3. It's like very
good lord.
Yeah. That's a hunting regulation in most states. Why you have like, yeah, well, it depends on the state though. Yeah, I mean, certain states will allow like you have to have a plug, but it's just a hunting regulation. Well, I don't know. I've only ever been hunting. I've never been on a range, so I don't know. U.S. barrel imports of Russian ammo, which is where all the good ones are. 7.62 came from. Yeah. I'd imagine like they're probably sanctions on Russian-made ammunition now. So
there has been for a while,
yeah. Only person in Texas going to be mad about your 590 mag tube. It was a game where you bring out to the bush for hunting purposes a whole barrel, a drum, like the drum barrel. Oh, God bless Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas. Anyways,
it has its problems, like traffic.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So America's never going to get rid of the guns, hopefully. But it's just but like you said though, in 20 years, you never know what's going to happen. So, well, we'll see.
I'm not holding my breath on a lot of things that we would take for granted. Like, as I've said, I've said this in group chats, but it's entirely dependent on how much gets accomplished in this administration. You know, just because there's so many things that are still existential threats, crises, etc., that need to be taken care of, and I don't see it happening right now, you know?
Yeah, true. But yeah, it is what it is. I know certain states are worse than others, but like
yes, but I'm going to move from the gun issue before either of us continue to make asses of ourselves. So
yeah. This thread. Yeah, this thread.
Please.
I believe it was a guy. Let's go to the screen share. I think it was one of the guys that helped spark Gamergate, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Here we go. Oh yeah, apparently there was a Ukrainian strike, but only like 9 missiles towards some ammo dump in Bryansk. So we'll see what happens. Is the one that got the fucking so it's some stupid about Twitch and YouTube. Liberals want their own Joe Rogan, but this is true. They're already left learning content creator ecosystem. The demonstrators just choose to ignore big names like Hassan Piker. Was it like didn't like Vaush and Destiny almost go to the White House, but then they realized it was bad optics. You know, like it was.
Well, they have to LARP as revolutionaries.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't look. I mean, this is the same thing that happens every election cycle with these bread tubers, and watching them lose their, I don't want to say funding, but a lot of their big, like, you know, David Pakman and the rest of them all like complaining about lacking of or not lacking, but people dropping like their subscriptions because clearly their brand of politics isn't working for them, and it's just like, oh no, how dare you guys, still, we're going to need to resist. We're going to need to do this thing all over again. And, you know, it's like, all right, well, good luck. No one believes your bullshit anymore. Yeah. I mean, what do you do and like, this is the thing too, is they were doing all of these conversations about, we need like our own version of Joe Rogan. And then some people are just like, well, you had that. And then you like tried to cancel it because obviously it was toxic and evil and awful and terrible. Like they were making fun of fucking Chapo Trap House. Although to give Chapo its credit, to give it its due, at least when Bernie lost the 2016 primaries and as well as 2020, they were doing their best to like tell young men to find some authenticity and to still do things and to try and be more than just online and to find meaning in their life. You kind of can't do this now when everything about you is fake, saccharine, incredibly, no one believes your shtick. Yeah, no one cares. And so it's kind of nice to see this and to watch them double down on all of their ideals. Not saying that it's guaranteed that they'll, you know, finally learn their lesson and overcome. Lord knows that that's possible. I'm not holding my breath because I think all they have to do is just play a waiting game.
Right. Yeah. No, but that's the thing though. Like, it's they like even like one innocuous meme by Nightmare Efsler. Like I remember that one with Harry Sisson and Tim Walz. It was, I can't say that word on YouTube, but like it was like very funny. I remember, but no. But the point being is like, okay, let's see here. Republicans treat their influences very differently, seeing talking points already prioritized by engagement-hungry algorithms up the chain to networks like Fox and to politicians. Yeah, I mean, we saw that with Martin and Springfield.
Yeah.
So your complaint by this guy, Mike from PA, oh, look at that. I already have him blocked. Thank God. I haven't blocked Nathan Grayson yet. I believe, didn't he used to work for Otaku?
I think so.
Yeah, Washington Post, Aftermath. Who the hell is Aftermath? Who cares? Only followed by Kathrine Dee. Engagement algorithm. So no, but so you're complaining that it's more organic when it comes to the right wing in terms of the creation of memeplexes and talking points and the issues of the day in the Trumpian era. You're complaining that now, for the first time ever, official Republican and conservative punditry is forced to listen to the people they claim to represent. This wouldn't have happened.
Shocker, I know.
Yeah, shocker. Yeah. Made classic soy face while standing in the same room as Kamala Harris. Look how she's our friend. They trade her access in exchange for access. They offer guerrilla marketing. It's a shill. They say the Democrats are perfect. They're going to win. But yeah, so you're basically admitting here that all of it's just influence. The Republican side has less of that, believe it or not. Even the dumbest commentators and Newsmax are talking about issues and have opinions than disagreeing with Mitch McConnell. I don't see how that's a bad thing. Like, you can't even be consistent with your own, like, demonization. Oh, but of course you're saying that the average Republican or the average right-winger is an evil, demonic, and stupid person, and so therefore it's bad when the official pundit classes listen to them. Leftist creators also face issues when it comes to how the communication and the right misinformation rules. Misinfo rules! And creators can speculate wildly without repercussions. Well,
we're upset that the thumbs aren't on the scales like they were in 2020. Oh my gosh. These guys can actually get ahead. The platform isn't owned by a lip-tarded Indian guy anymore. Oh no! Like, okay, great. Boo-hoo. You lost.
Yeah. What are you going to do about it?
You gonna cry?
Oh, Jacob Keller says it. Jacob Keller! Jacob Keller says that, so the reason the right gets to have their Joe Rogan and Ben Shapiro is because they have to make an incredible amount of content when you're just saying words and never have to verify them. Anything Geller said. Oh, kind of like your video on fascism and beauty and art. How
isn't Jacob Geller that like retarded YouTube video essay personality? Okay.
He works for Kotaku as well, if I recall. Who read a gargantuan book on torture for a recent video book Call of Duty. It takes a long time to be corrected. It takes a very short time to be wrong. Well, I don't know. I mean, it comes to, for example, ContraPoints being paid millions of dollars to make one video a year. I mean, I guess they have some people that are fact-checking something, but you see, the fact check is only the fact check on the correct talking point. It's never the actual truth or reality of things, because everything is subjective in that sense when it comes to political rhetoric. But they think that they have this monopoly.
At that point, too,
it's ridiculous.
Well, you know, what is the point of like various like right-wing Twitter GCs other than to talk shit about other GCs?
Right.
It's very gangs in New York in that respect. But also at the same time, but at the same time, right? What are all these lefty groups doing? They're doing their own kind of, well, I don't even want to call it organic, but they're doing their own version of, we need to make sure that this is, you know, the way in which we can rhetorically wiggle our way out of any right-wing criticism of our talking point. And we need to ensure that they understand that we're never going to give them an inch of like truth, even if they're 100% right on an issue. And so,
exactly, yeah,
you know,
so the way it's a frame game, really.
It's a frame game. For them, it's frame games. Whereas here on this side, it's like, how do I make sure that my knee-jerk talking point,
my mimetic complex,
my memeplex wins, and that's what matters. And I have to laugh at that a lot because
in the absence of truth, exactly.
Well, it's not even just the absence of truth. Like I remember one time someone was talking about like the difference between right wing and left wing Twitter. It's like this one's rhetoric, and then this one is just like knee jerk, basic reactionary truths. And I'm like, I wonder why these are knee jerk, basic reactionary truths about things, because they're right.
Yeah, exactly.
Like even you're willing to admit that they're true.
Yeah. So this Denims TV, I think it's some stupid Twitch streamer.
Many such cases.
Twitch has tried at least to performantly champion progressive causes over the years. It has uniquely vulnerable to outside influence due to its relatively small size, lack of profitability. Public conflicts involve both creators and influences. External forces like the ADL put additional pressure on Twitch to apply its purposely vague rules against streamers. Oh, so you're saying that Twitch doesn't punish the right wing enough, but because the ADL gets involved, who also hates the right wing, but because they want to curb the like pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel voices on Twitch, now you're making a big issue out of censorship? Like, it's ridiculous, right? So here's what he says. While creators on the right absolutely fight and criticize each other, their ecosystem is, for the aforementioned reason, rock solid. The left's less so. That's not true. That's fundamentally not true. When you control every institution, from academia to mainstream media to Hollywood to any form of culture industry schlock, is controlled by the left. But when it comes to
except for the
online world,
except for Twitter,
yeah, that's it, and that's all. That's all this thread really is about. It's not about talk radio, because who listens to talk radio besides boomers? It's not about YouTube, because God knows YouTube, right? It's only about Twitter. It's only about Twitter, right? And the fact that Twitch is known as a leftist cesspool. There was this great video that came from a video at SAS recently about the Twitch degeneracy that was quite good. I forget the name of if you can illuminate in the chat who came out with recently this video against Twitch streamers. It was very good. I think if Twitch was the same size as YouTube, they wouldn't care about like the Steven Crowders of the world, the way YouTube doesn't care about literally Steven Crowder himself. But YouTube cares about millennial woes. YouTube cares about Jared Taylor. YouTube even cares about, it cared about Sargon until he came back,
Well,
YouTube cared about stuff on
he was demonetized forever.
Yeah. Well, Count Dankula was demonetized forever.
Yeah.
But Steven Crowder, you have to realize, Steven Crowder is protected because he used to work in legacy media. There are people on YouTube that probably do want to get rid of him and Ben Shapiro. It's just they can't because they have a level of institutional clout that Count Dankula and Millennial Woes and all the countless other people that got banned off of YouTube don't. Yeah. So that's the way it works. Steven Crowder is just too big to be censored. And they tried to go after him too. They pull videos from Steven Crowder all the time. Now, I personally think that Steven Crowder is a terrible person and he's a Kohler and whatever, but that's not the point, right? I disagree with a lot of people that got banned. I don't say they should get banned, right? I'm not going to say I'm listening to TRS every day, but they got banned off of YouTube. I have to say I agree with like everything TRS says. Let's go back in from the stream from the other day.
Well, I mean, we were just talking about the classic liberal impulse to free speech, and that's basically what this whole bit has been. Is how do we reconcile that? And it's also the same sort of discussions that we're having about, well, how do you reconcile these like very liberal impulses in the midst of our, very friend-enemy world? And can your positions be reconciled with the ideology that you seem to purport? I think that the left is going to have a much more difficult time with this because they're like, oh, we're about lifting up the oppressor, which works great when you're trying to silence, right-wingers, but it doesn't work out so much when you're trying to reconcile the fact of like, oh, gee, why is it that half our voting base can't change a bloody, smoke alarm battery? It's like the whole HBD debate that's been happening right now, which has been very entertaining to watch. But at the same time, right, like, what are you also dealing with? Oh, well, you're also fighting the very basic fact that, the most important and I don't even know if it is the most important platform. Right now, I would have to say, yes, it is the most important, social media platform, because clearly it helped get Donald Trump elected, and the richest man on earth owns it, because this is where government agencies and bureaucrats and everyone else goes to make their case about their position and about their world. Because as we learned throughout all of the time I've been online, and you too, Gio, that today's Twitter talking points are tomorrow, if not that very afternoon's news chyron. We saw this especially when Tucker was on Fox. And we still see this today where people are reading these things. And it's also the reason why a lot of right-wing print journalism is still really important, like the American Affairs Journal or Chronicles or the American Mind. Like, whatever those guys write about, they're, Newsmax people are going to talk about it. People are still referencing and referring to Michael Anton's Flight 93 essay. And with good reason. One, it was very accurate to the time it was written in 2016, but also because it illustrated that, there's a little bit of some intellectual heavyweights around here, although there's some stuff with Anton I certainly disagree with. But, you can't call him an idiot by any stretch of the imagination. And so, cool. You're upset because the one platform that that can beat containment, i.e. go viral in a way that a left-wing talking point can't. It goes back to this thing that, Jeff Deist wrote about in 2018. Organic bottom-up language is going to be pervasive, and it's going to be far more damaging to any mainstream institution. And this is why the left always opts to control language. If you change definitions, if you change the norms, the normies are going to fall in line about language and about definition. This is why even Nancy Mace, while she's bitching about this transgender congressperson who isn't even, I think it's a congressperson-elect he's a dude in a dress. And even freaking Nancy Mace's tweets are just like, oh, well, she doesn't actually have the sex. And it's like, okay, well, why are you using the pronoun if you're making this big anti-transgender tirade? Clearly, you're still, you haven't killed the libtard in you enough to get this point out of your head. And it illustrates, this is also a consequence of the GOP going so far left-wing on these issues, codifying gay marriage into federal law, in the whole fucking Bruce Jenner nonsense. It's just we've traded a little bit of nativist political rhetoric for all these social issues that, believe it or not, are still really important to the average Joe. And, otherwise we wouldn't be voting for these things consistently at the ballot box for school board elections and the rest. And so, great. This is where we're at. is that we have fundamentally libtarded the GOP even more than they already were, just so we can talk about things like mass deportations. And it's just like, this is an interesting trade-off that we've made, and this is the consequences of where we're at. And yeah, I mean, that's just how it is. And so lefties are complaining at the same time, however, that even though you got some of your cultural victories, whether it be gay marriage, whether it be all this transgender stuff, and some people are trying to push back, but even the own party institution doesn't care about these issues because line go up and the rest. That, you know, oh, we don't have, you know, Musk is our great traitor. And I think the New York Times had an article about this, or the Intelligencer from New York Mag, how Elon Musk went from superhero to supervillain, and it's because he stopped voting Democrat. He stopped agreeing with everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's fine. That's the way that we're going to frame this. But he still is in control of it. And he is finally playing like a Democrat. And it was really funny to listen to, I think Elon Musk had quote tweeted it, this like image where he says, former Democrats won the election. And it was like Tulsi, a photo of Tulsi, RFK Jr., and Elon and Trump. Musk. And Trump was like, yeah, it's so true. And it is true. Absolutely true.
Yeah. So this one really got my goat. What happens next is an open question, but it's not all doom and gloom. Some leftists create the opportunity to build something new. Yeah, what can they build really new? You've had control over every institution for the better part of 50 years, maybe longer. What can you build that's new now that you've experienced this crisis? And I hate Jacob Geller so much. Here's what he says. Geller hopes he can at least provide a persuasive argument, something that sticks to people's minds. I don't think that the right provides a very interesting way to critically analyze or take apart art. And so I'm kind of hoping that it's almost implicit in my approach. Well, let me say one thing. Wait for my book to come out, number one. Number two, I've seen your art criticism videos. They're terrible. They're just reliant upon the same talking points and tropes since at least the 1980s. And it's the same rhetoric, the same slop over and over again. Go watch. Why? Because it has a high production value that somehow you're this brilliant art critic. You're the next Robert Hughes. Well, I'm sorry. You couldn't hold a candle to Robert Hughes. You couldn't hold Robert Hughes' cigarette. Okay? Or you could not hold Clement Greenberg's cigarette. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, Jacob Geller. It's just, what I would love to happen is somebody across YouTube, they see one of my videos, watch it, and consider enough that they see the contrast with Asmongold. Asmongold is the right winger now? Is Asmongold on the political right?
Isn't he a huge libtard?
Yeah. Well, except for like a few issues here and there. Oh, wow, I guess I've been eating trash, and I just don't know it until now. This is the most self-aggrandizing statement. This is the most narcissistic, self-aggrandizing statement any content creator could ever say. I hope that one day a young kid sees the Digital Archipelago, and I hope that they're like, wow, I've been watching Jacob Geller videos. I mean, yeah, okay, I hope that happens, but I'm not going to say it and make it a big polemic in an interview to say that, I hope that someone watches us instead of Jordan Peterson. Like, are you ridiculous?
I mean, I want that, but yeah.
I want that, but you're not going to go out and make it a polemic. Like, it's so insane. These people are insane. This person traded his soul for a crumb of Zoe Quinn, this Nathan Grayson. And you're going to say that he's an authority on media literacy and information in the digital age. Oh, I guess I've been eating trash. Here's something that provides some other version. Bear, who is part of the cadre of streams nearly every day like Piker, sees the time he goes live as an opportunity to build and strengthen his community for whatever lies ahead. I'm really interested in what will happen when we have, as capitalism inevitably does, another economic contraction. We have another opportunity. I think the reason why Bernie Bernie could have won. Bernie could have won. Was not about to win because economically in 2016, 2020, the economy wasn't that bad. Are you like kidding me? Oh, I guess because the chuds didn't have their treats, though. That's like, if the left-wing bubble has happened, the corresponding with the declining confidence in capitalism, they're still talking about capitalism as if they're not the biggest beneficiaries of the corporatocracy. They're still talking about like capitalism is if they haven't benefited immensely by these corporations giving them W after W and censoring the right wing more than any government could ever effectively do. So I'm building for the opportunities that lay ahead. Really big silver lining to Kamala Harris losing. Cope some more. And that the field is open. And we'll have nobody to blame but ourselves. We choose another Biden, Clinton, or Obama, or Harris.
The field is open. The field is open. The first poll for 2028 Dems, 48% shows Kamala Harris.
Oh my God.
But I mean, again, it's a whole different world. This is the world that they exist in. Well, we really hope that we can win those young white men. And it's just like, your economic platform is like trying to get the disaffected white guys on board. But also anyone else who's a part of your minority coalition already knows that shit's free.
Exactly.
Like you're asking for like, German style social democracy, but if you're not white in this country, you already have it. And then on top of that, right, every person who was an advocate for that stuff has been effectively silenced. No one listens to the Chapo Trap House guys anymore. No one buys the Hassan Piker Vaush David Pakman stick. Why? Because they're kind of tired of like, these performative like heterosexual leftists that are like, oh, well, you already got yours. Why should I listen to you? What about all these other voices?
Kushbaum Kreisman, review another Criterion Collection film. Kushbaum. Yeah.
But like that's the point. Want. That's the point. Is that all of a sudden I'm supposed to take you seriously when your jumble of leftist contradictions, which are contradictions to the extreme, and the only thing that glues that all together is the hatred of the people that will never vote for you.
Exactly.
You will never get a majority or plurality of the white vote. And they haven't had it since the fucking 90s. And they're not going to get it anytime soon. And so
Obama
what have they
shamed
been...
a little bit of them in the
Oh, sure.
Because that was it.
Because white guilt. And who doesn't want to be part of the, the big
hope and change,
hope and change and messianic figure of American race politics? Who doesn't want to be part of that? And so that was the point. And that failed miserably because what came afterwards? The Dear Colleague letter, everything that could have fundamentally made America a less healthy and, a place to afford things.
Trayvon
and instead,
my son.
We just doubled down on everything that the Black Panthers were talking about. And everything.
Remember that tweet I had? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and I mean, also, like this point needs to be reiterated too. From I think this was a Night Owl space from like a year ago, but it was just like if you look at everything that has ever been said from the manifestos of like the Weather Underground and the Black Panthers, they more or less have gotten 70% or more of what they wanted accomplished through legal procedural means. And so that's the world that we have to live in now. Is one where they've won. And we already know the consequences of what that looks like. Otherwise, we wouldn't be so adamant to fight it at every chance that we get. Is that you have finally made America what used to be a pretty, and still in a lot of places, a really nice place to live. An unaffordable, racial third world shithole in which no one wants to live in because the definition of a functional civilization is finally being questioned. And so the world's richest man, along with a lot of Silicon Valley guys who actually realize, oh shit, I'm not going to be able to live in the world that I want to live in if this continues. How on earth am I, Jeff Bezos of fucking Amazon, I'm going to keep the gravy train rolling in my billions of dollars if I recognize that the trains in the United States are getting robbed by masses trying to steal Amazon packages? This shit is unsustainable. So what do you do? Oh, I guess he's not so bad. I guess he's not Hitler after all. And I guess that maybe it's okay if they call me a fascist because at least it means that I'm going to be able to maintain my job.
Yeah, exactly. The people that are procuring the services and buying the products from Amazon the most are being totally degraded. And so Jeff Bezos, like any good Fordist, will know that, oh, wow, if the people that I'm selling cars to can't make a living, it's over. It's over. And the thing with Jacob Geller saying, but I'm sorry I'm being obsessive about this point, but wait for the book to come out. But here's the thing. When it comes to the control of information, you're complaining about it, and you don't really have a good grasp on the psychology of why people are rejecting your worldview, that's a huge problem. And to say that you're just going to double down. Like, do you remember that tweet I said? I think I was replying to your vision, where I said that I was replying to Ulrich, I think. Or maybe Memetic Sisyphus. I said Obama promised white people racial absolution. But literally the second he achieved a majority, the second that he was in power, he told everybody that there was no such thing as absolution. And in fact, the opposite. And in fact, you were stupid, and they punished you for believing that Obama was going to deliver you into a glorious 1990s post-racial harmony America. Just if you voted for the first black president, it would happen.
Turns out the world isn't like my friend Martin. Exactly. Turns out it's much more like, I don't know, live and let die in a lot of ways.
Exactly. Yeah. And so when it came to racial politics in America, Obama said, let the dead bury the dead, meaning like let white people bury white people.
Yeah.
And that basically you're left to your own devices and you don't mean anything. And in fact, you were actually racist for even thinking that Obama was going to give you some kind of absolution from the original sin that constitutes to them anyways, the foundation of America. In fact, you were racist for thinking that voting was going to, what's their famous saying? Equality to the privileged is oppression. Feels like, you were stupid. Not only were you stupid for thinking that, but they punished you even harder for buying into the idea that if you voted for this guy, this messianic figure, that racial politics in America would lift off into this post-racial awareness where nobody would ever talk about it again, and we could all live in kumbaya, and we could all listen to that one song by Enigma, and it's going to be like a New Age trance festival forever. And it's not true. It didn't happen. The opposite happened. You got Chaz. You got My Son Could Have Been Trayvon. You got, and you go right up to Clownvid, you have the Summer of Floyd. And I mean, now the racial thing is maybe cooled down, but you never know when Trump gets
it'll never cool down.
Yeah, it'll never cool down.
And I mean, even now they're debating like, oh well, maybe we should
we do it again?
Should we double down on identity politics?
Yeah,
we should double down. And it's just like, okay, well, if you're going to double down, so be it, and that'll be entertaining. Yeah. But also, like, again, it illustrates just how existential the immigration issue is. Like, earlier today, someone had shared a tweet from fucking 2012, and they were just like, this is what my Dem friends are talking about the 2016 map looking, and it looked like a total, blue landslide, like, 30-plus states. And, again, why would it be 30-plus states if not the legalization of immigration and the legalization of millions of people who shouldn't be here to get these they've planned this. They've talked about this. I mean, in 2004, I think is when the emerging democratic majority was written. Ironically, is a homage to the 1960s, 70s book, the emerging Republican majority. And
that's right. Yeah.
So you're living in a world where clearly, like, the replacement of the voter base that you have been consistently losing for 30 plus years now is if we can't win them over, we'll just replace them.
Yeah.
And so that agenda is not going to change. And already, I think, what was it? San Francisco had already declared itself a sanctuary city to prevent any cooperation with federal law enforcement on immigration.
The National Guard.
The National Guard.
Yeah.
Oh, so we're literally just going to get the HBO Second American Civil War plot line.
Yeah, exactly.
Except it's the Democrats resisting deportation. Unreal.
Yeah.
Oh, we what a joke of a timeline.
Isn't that kind of like a constitutional violation for a jurisdiction to resist the action of the National Guard? Isn't there some kind of like very
the guard can be federalized. I mean, we literally did it for fucking integration.
Katrina was like partially federalized, wasn't it?
Under
correct.
What
was that? yeah, what was that organization that screwed up?
What, the Oath Keepers?
No, Michael Chertoff.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
FEMA.
Oh, FEMA.
Yeah, they screwed up big time. But whatever happened to Michael Chertoff? Whatever happened to him? I remember he was everywhere.
No idea.
Yeah, I think he retired. I think he became. Oh, I think he also had like Trump derangement syndrome as well. Let me look this up.
Who would have guessed?
We went from a fiery takedown to now in this 2000s nostalgia. In typical digital archipelago form, we're going now to 2000s nostalgia. Chertoff.
Not even sure if it's nostalgia.
Yeah, it's not. We don't remember it fondly.
I'm not sure if I have anything nice to say about all that.
Yeah. I think I think he also became a Trump derangement syndrome.
I don't know how many people of the original Bush, like George W. Bush administration, have anything nice to say about.
I wonder what did Donald Rumsfeld say before he died about Trump?
I'm pretty sure he wasn't pro-Trump in the slightest.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. But anyways, yeah, Jacob Geller, to say such a thing, I mean, I've watched his videos. It's not good, okay? Like, I mean, I don't mean to toot my own horn. You know what? I'm not going to say anything because I just lectured him on self-aggrandizing. But let's just say that, okay, the woke may be a bit more correct in the mainstream here in the sense that there are a lot of, if you're looking at mainstream conservative punditry of like, say, and, you know, Roger Scruton did have some good points, right? I'm not going to say that his work on art criticism was bad. But when you're starting to praise like Odd Nidrum and Harold Sabine or whatever, like all that stuffy stuff, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, I understand that conservatards have a very particular relationship to the work of art. But there's a potentiality even more so than the political left for a younger, more critical right wing to create a different model of art criticism that is, you know, tied to meme culture and is tied to a lot of things, a lot of machinations of the online world and how we engage with the image. I mean, a lot of my book is about that. So I think that Jacob Geller is going to wake up one day and realize that a lot of these frogs are paving the way for new art movements in the 21st century. The reactionary chud is going to leave them behind in the desert of history. So you know, it's not the 1980s anymore. It's not even the 1960s anymore, as much as they like to believe. But we'll see what happens, because I just think that he is. I'm not going to say what I really think of him for fear of getting banned, but let's just say that he is a bad faith actor of the lowest order. So. Anyways,
I think
let's move on.
There's a lot to say, though, Gio, with respects to not just what's the word I'm looking for? It's not just art, you know.
Right.
Right. I mean, what is the ideological aspect of this coalition? What's it held together by? Well, it's held together primarily by an anti-white animus,
right? And
of course,
yeah,
great. So all the critical theory stuff is still, you know, the ideological basis for how this movement operates. And then, of course, the anti-left stuff kind of went a little too. Hit a certain wealthy demographic that has been bankrolling a lot of this come October 7th of last year. And then they kind of like, oh man, this like campus stuff's going too far, to where even Tucker Carlson is like, so where were you guys when all this white genocide stuff was being funded? And so, you know, whereas the right gets to have a lot of fun right now with respects to like, you know, principal ideologies. You know, whether they get to try and come up with some new bit of futurism, whether they're taking a look at like some really old conservative stuff, if they're taking a look at, you know, the writings from pre and post Enlightenment thinkers on politics. I mean, just the fact that, you know, Schmidt has been so rehabilitated, even by the mainstream right, speaks volumes as to how things are going. And of course, all the left can do is float, sputter, and be the boy who cried Nazi. And that's all that it's going to be, at least for right now. I know things will change, but in the meantime, it's great to watch the the coping and the seething, because they're ideologically in a confidence crisis. Like, oh, what do we call this? What do we do? Other than, just pray to God that we can just wait a little longer and replace them. And that's all that they're banking on right now, is just the demographics argument, which is why mass deportations and everything else about that, remigration of the rest, is single-handedly the most important political issue of our time.
Right.
That's it. It's plain and simple. And everything is leading towards that. And it's nice to listen to, like, the New York Times get all butthurt during the election. They were like, Donald Trump's theory of everything. It's all about immigrants. And it's like, well, yeah, it is. What? Yes, and,
Yeah. Yeah. No, but I mean, even people that were cast aside, yeah, exactly. The art rate rising. I mean, my good friend Rachel Haywire, I mean, we're going to do some very interesting stuff in the future, and along with other people. So we'll see what happens. But the thing is, I wouldn't put it past. I've said this before. I think I even said this last week. I wouldn't put it past them to attempt another funny business on Trump's life, to attempt another Butler PA, if you know what I mean. I wouldn't really put it past them. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. If there will be a leftist version of what happened a few years ago on the 6th of a certain month, we'll see what happens. Shall we move on to Kondylis? And please see those super chats, please. I'm begging you. I mean, this is you
already said the word begging, Gio. It's kind of over.
I'm trying to grift here. So, anyways, unless people are like, well, anyways, so let's move on to Kondylis. I think we should read, because I think in all of the book, one of the most interesting, or the whole book is interesting, but this part from 68, page 68, nationalism between radical tradition and mass democratic modernization. I think that is a good place to read. So let's go to it. Screen share. Let's see, where is it? Here we go. All right. So this is, again, you could get the free PDF from the Kondylis Project. If you just Google Planetary Politics After the Cold War, you can get it. So if you wanted to read along. But let's go to, is it page 68? Here we go. Nationalism between radical tradition and mass democratic modernization. Let me see if we could read. I guess we should read from the top. We might not get to all of this, but we'll get to a good chunk of it. So let's see.
Do you want me to begin?
All right. Let's begin. The robust and militant nationalisms which promptly sprang from the ruins of the Soviet Empire touched off or triggered disconcertment and embarrassment for many people in the West. The long, earnest preoccupation with mass consumption and the corresponding refinement of manners and of psyches gradually brought forth here another perception of the purpose of man on this earth, so that one could no longer rightly understand how civilized beings could be so enthusiastic about something so primitive as the nation. So basically he's saying that with the end of the Cold War was also a fundamental transformation of the role of being on planet Earth, because as it intersects with ideology, as it intersects with the one prevailing idea of the human subject that end of history post-Cold War liberalism provides, and that the sort of notion of a nation being antiquated and being something to be done away with. To that was added a sense of vague and only half-pronounced concern, because in the face of such an outbreak of emotion, which for a long time had been considered outdated, doubts must have crept in over the West's own situation in future, namely the question arising as to whether also Western and indeed Western European societies could relapse. Even a normal, as it were, conjugal quarrel between Western nations is henceforth observed by all sides with such secret thoughts, and one begins to think about the precarious character of the supranational institutions created in the meantime and queries the irreversibility of the direction followed, or at least the compatibility, completability, or perfectibility of the common European project. The attempt to have Western European nationalisms through European community definitely placed an acta, made irrelevant, was in fact based on special political preconditions, i.e., apart from the growing integration of dynamic national economies, there was the first time a common foe of all Western European nations whose dangerousness greatly exceeded their every mutual mistrust, and there was also an American political and military patronage. So essentially the creation of the European Union, or rather the perfection of it after the Cold War. Can
you scroll up to the top real quick, Gio? Just I want to reread something. Reread that real quick. But no, go on with your point. I'm just going to reread the section real quick.
Oh no, but essentially he's describing the sort of fear that these European nations would further slip into nationalism, and that they would, like, for example, Brexit or Brexit was largely a failure, but you know what I mean, like, and also like the fact that there is no large geopolitical rival, that this could constitute the condition of a true planetary politics. That was Kondylis. But yeah, go ahead, Prue. What were you going to say?
No, I was reading Lightning in C's chat. He says, huge problem with this already. Nationalist movements didn't start with the end of the USSR. They were always a countervailing pull in those countries' politics. I mean, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Although I think what Kondylis is pointing out here is that while there's a lot of nationalist movements that emerged in the former Soviet bloc, and obviously that's still played out, Kondylis is sort of differentiating that between, and I can't speak for the man, obviously, but I mean, to me at least, he's differentiating between that supranational project, i.e. like the European community in the West, and sort of this like soft social democrat downplay of nationalism, like you saw this in 2018, on the, or even in 2014 with like the commemoration of the 100th anniversaries of the First World War, and how they were like how Macron and Merkel were trying to downplay nationalism. However, I mean, even then, I like how he says conjugal quarrels between Western nations. The conjugal quarrels of like Westphalian like international order dies in World War I anyway, because we just decided like there's no way that you can just call it a quits in mass industrial scale warfare in both world wars. And so I guess this is where we're going through now as he continues to write on. I'm just noticing an observation. I needed to reread that section to see if Lightning's point was just to understand Lightning's point, but we can go on.
I think he does factor it in later on in the chapter. So economic integration after the discontinuance of both latter preconditions, i.e. the existence of a dangerous common foe and American political and military patronage, the growing integration of Western European national economies could also prove to be fragile, or at least politically secondary. Such half-suppressed doubt in respect of one's own affairs and situation frequently are carried over into the noisy and quite angst or fear before Eastern European and Balkan nationalisms. Well, whoa, I wonder. You have to realize he was writing this at the time of the Balkan Wars. He was writing this at the time of the Bosnian Wars. So, did he predict what was going to happen with Russia? Maybe, right? When did Kondylis die? It was in the early 2000s. Was it?
Let's take a look.
I think it was. Or he may have lived longer.
Let's see here. He died in 1998.
Okay, so yeah, just at the end run of the Bosnian War and right before NATO bombed Belgrade. So he was smart enough to know that something was going to happen with Russia as well. I've been told by Kondylis Griper that he basically predicted what was going to happen. And of course, at the 1998, I think Yeltsin was still in there, and they were looting Russia left, right, and center. So the politically and strategically absolute justified concern over the presumptible knock-on effects of wars or unrest in other parts of the continent would at any rate be slighter if the European community could be from the outset certain of the unity and the resolve of its action. Well, if Trump forces them to shoulder the majority of the cost of supporting Ukraine, that could lead to immense fracturing in the European Union. When you really think, I mean, Germany's already contemplating it now that their government has fell, and now that they're looking at the prospect of the Chinese coming in and taking more of their factories and their energy problems. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? He wrote this in 1995, and it was obvious. But the most brilliant minds in the State Department and in the European Union and in the British Office of Foreign Affairs, they couldn't understand this, could they? They couldn't see what was going to happen. But that's a side issue. Well, not really a side issue, but you get what I mean, Prude. Instead of that, the lack of firm common ground in the present lets reminiscences of the conflicts of interest of the nationalistically shaped past become vivid and indeed regarding the same place and the same actors. Well, look what happened in the Balkans at the time of writing this. I mean, that's basically what happened. The revival of nationalist and ethno-nationalist grudges that led to, unspeakable horrors. And
they never went away.
It never went away, really, yeah. I mean, Tito could only do so much, really. I mean, but do you have anything to say about this, Prude? Or?
Well, I mean, I think it's important to understand that a lot of like the petite nationalism, I don't mean like big nationalist projects, but I mean like the national interest was still played a huge role in here. I think that it certainly kind of gets mitigated after the empty chair crisis in the European community in the 1960s. And it becomes a little more integrated later then. I need to brush up on a lot of my EU history, and I have some books on it, but I need to reread them. But it does illustrate, I think that, there was this sort of moment of like, well, what emerges after, because the BBEG is dead, like the USSR is gone. Are we going to resume what Europe used to be? Are we going to see another war rise in Europe? Are we going to see the lamps go out in Europe again? And I mean, that was always going to be a chief concern. And I mean, even now as he's writing this, shortly after the fall of the Soviet Union and now shortly before his death, I mean, you're witnessing everything play out in the former Soviet satellite states. And you're like, well, is this going to play out in Western Europe now that we can kind of resume? And I mean, to some extent, that's definitely happened. I mean, all this discussion over European defense autonomy isn't just like Americans talking about it. Merkel talked about it. Macron especially talked about it. And it was even accelerated after Donald Trump got elected. Like, well, how long or how shall we rely on the United States? And maybe we should start being a little more autonomous with how we consider our own international security affairs, especially if like Trump even follows through on his promise about NATO funding and having free speech promises and trying to encourage these sort of conservative or nationalist tendencies. I mean, even if Elon Musk told, or, even if like this administration told Starmer's government, like, listen, we're not going to we're not going to be very helpful in the special relationship via the military unless you let these people out of prison. Imagine like the damning ramifications that would have throughout intelligence, military, and political circles in Europe. It'd be insane.
Oh, I mean, the funding that they've allocated to quote unquote defeating the far right in terms of these intelligence agencies and these European Union state apparatuses or intrastate apparatuses. I mean, it's incredible. They would fundamentally be disrupted by a more rightist government in America that owns the purse strings. And if Elon just tells them to pound sand, and that, unless you're going to get Sam Millia out of prison, and maybe Tommy Robinson, but let's not talk about Tommy Robinson, okay? But like, I don't have many good things to say about him. But like, the point being is unless Britain and the EU in general stops jailing dissidents for speech violations or harassing dissidents to the point where they can't make a living, such as Martin Sellner, or that Belgian politician that they gave more. I saw Keith Woods posting about this. A Belgian politician on the right, for talking about Muslim immigration, they give him more time than a PDF file in Belgium. So it's but also when it comes down to it, even Olaf Schlong was talking. Olaf Scholz was talking about, or rather reiterating what Macron was saying, as Germany is now being expected to kick up a lot more funding for Ukraine if they really wanted to do this. So we'll see what happens.
But also, like, this invocation of, like, the nationalism of the past. I mean,
yeah.
I think that it hasn't been so much a reclaim your heritage or a return type deal, although I think that sort of mimetic project works really, really well online. I mean, the AFD is very much just like, well, just get them out of the country. We're not a country anymore. Just get them out. I mean, and also to some extent, also with American influence as well. I mean, get that out of there too. But I mean, like, outside of that, it's more of just a call for sovereignty and to be its own nation and to have a future. It's not so much an invocation of the past these days, at least with a lot of the nationalist movements I see. It's that we've been here for forever. This is our homeland. What we're focusing on is the future. We will not exist if this shit continues.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I wish that those nationalist movements would have a better solid foundation of their own identity, but at the same time, I mean, you're going to get, like, I mean, in a lot of cases, unfortunately, the best you're going to get is like a Geert Wilders or someone of that nature. And you know, I mean, there's a lot of problems with these type of, you know, like mildly nationalistic figures. I mean, just look at what happened recently. The statements of where Nigel Farage was like boomer posting, but you know, as Gordon said in the War Report, you know, people recognize that Nigel Farage is just, he's at the end of something rather than beginning of something. And we'll see what happens. I mean, the stuff that's happening in the UK, even as a Canadian, is like totally atrocious. And but you can always have hope, you know, and if Trump and Elon does force Starmer's hand, and when it comes to these speech issues, I mean, there's signs of hope. But could Schultz be kicked out next election in February or wherever it's going to
their
happen?
Government fell apart, so it's going to be an election, I believe, in January 25th, I think is when it's supposed to be.
January, yeah. No, February, January, yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
But that coalition was not going to last very long to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. The psychologically explicable fixation on the past, however, suggests misjudgments in respect of the character of nationalism in the present. The interpretation of nationalism as a kind of incursion of the past into the present is again very often connected with anthropologically underpinned perceptions or perceptions underpinned by the philosophy of history, which puts the tenacious continued existence of the nationalistic cast of mind down to the inerectable need of man for emotional and substantial bonds with a corresponding identity. That is, in nationalism, they see an expected rebellion against the instrumental rationality of the technical world and at the same time against the utility or utilitarian rationality of the state under the rule of law. But regardless of whether one feels for or welcomes or fears and condemns the rebellion, in respect of the analysis of today's concrete situation, as well as remarked in the state of the previous sections, there is little to be gained as long as the constraints or constants or long-lived historical magnitudes are not specified in more detail. Irrational or emotional needs work differently in every situation, in every era, and this is why we can hardly be properly evaluated as historical and social factors if one does not ask through which content and which notions they are concretized, which foe they have, and which aims they want to pursue. That is that is one of the best explanations of the mindset of nationalism, of the historical presence of nationalism, than perhaps every single left-wing academic, quote-unquote, anti-extremist expert there ever is. This one paragraph is better than people that make their livings trying to understand nationalism. One paragraph by Kondylis totally makes irrelevant all of the who is that guy that said I watched a lecture from him one time at my university. You know, the guy that wrote about, like, if you read Heidegger and Nietzsche, you're going to turn into a fascist. What's his name?
I don't know his name. I know who you're referring to.
Yeah. Or like any other academic that says they have anti-extremism expert in their bio. or that what's that the journalist with the big glasses that wrote the book about Seville? What's her name?
The one who was a expert witness at the trial.
At the trial. Yeah.
I don't know the name. I know the face. I know exactly who you're describing. I cannot tell you the name. Yeah.
Yeah. El Reeve. Yeah. El Reeves. Not El Wood. Can you imagine El Wood being an anti-extremism expert? Legally Blonde against Richard Spencer. Legally Blonde would persecute. She'd be like the state persecutor against
prosecutor.
Prosecutor.
I would rather her play the defense.
That would be crazy. She had like defend.
I want a Legally Blonde remake, but she has to like defend Matthew Heimbach.
Oh God! Oh, that'd be so great. That'd be like, and Matthew Parrott's gonna be there, and like Richard Spencer. It's gonna be. Oh my God! Then like Richard Spencer would try to sleep with her. That'd be, Anyways,
Pfizer during like deposition training. You aren't Russian, are you?
It goes into a spiel about Ukrainian nationalism. That'd be funny, That's like, it's funny like how many journalists Richard Spencer has slept with. Allegedly
slept with.
Allegedly slept with.
I don't believe it, but that'd be okay,
I don't think like people say that he's playing for the other team. I don't believe that. I don't know. He's not like, he's got the mannerisms, but he's not.
I think it's more of a drama thing.
It's more of a drama thing, yeah, exactly.
Which makes you look and sound very
playing for the other team.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's go back to the high-minded analysis. So what do you make of that? So he's saying like, it's not that so much that there's like this irrationality at the heart of like these evil chud nationalists. It's more that nationalism kind of is like a historical force that is ever present, that you can't just like explain away, and that there is something wrong about the machinations of instrumental reason on the human soul that compels people to seek a more solid form of identity that is sort of like the past influencing the politics of the present. And so this is why Kondylis, like, this is immensely important. This is better, like I said, this is better than any mainstream modern academic that you can even find. Maybe there's some like critical, like there's some writers, like, you could say like maybe Nancy Brown is more sympathetic or whatever, but like, no, this is it. This is, I was floored.
Well, especially about the technicalized society. Like, there are people are always going to seek unspoken bonds.
Exactly.
This is why in any situation in a strange room, when you're with strangers, you tend to stick with the guys that look like you. So it's not just a biological aspect, but it's also, I think, a very just deeply ingrained social condition. Like, we are expected to go to these bonds. And in a society, especially in the midst of the 20th century, what do you see in the 20th century? Not just communism. Fascism, not as much, but communism especially. And of course, American
20th century?
Well, yeah, later 20th century. Well,
okay, yeah.
I'm talking about just 20th century period. Why do we naturally seek nationalism? Why do we naturally do it, especially in the midst of the end of the 20th century? Is because we have witnessed mainly a battle between two different ideologies, primarily neoliberal consumer capitalism, which has been the greatest deterritorializing effort in the West. It crushes the soul, as Bowden says. But also then, at the other hand, you also have the wonderful world of communism and state managerial systems, which has killed millions.
Which also crushes the body.
Which crushes the body, but it also crushed. Well, it didn't crush as much of the soul, but also, millions have died.
Tens of millions.
More than any of the atrocities of the Second World War. They were outshined by Stalin, Mao, and the rest of them.
Especially Mao, yeah.
Especially Mao, but I guess you can gauge him on a handicap. It's China, But at the same time,
yeah, with that population, it's kind of like a mulligan. And so, no, that's terrible. I shouldn't say that. That's no, but with that population, I mean, millions are going to.
We can joke a little as a treat.
Well, the history of China has been millions upon millions of people dying in every single conflict. Yeah, yeah. So.
I mean, otherwise we wouldn't be making this joke.
Yeah.
But again, to go back to the point, like why I'm going to want to seek unspoken bonds, and bonds that are natural and good and right, because that's exactly what I need to have in the midst of soul-crushing patronage of the enemy. And what has that, crushing been? Oh, it's been the destruction of my, former territories. And this is in the midst of already losing territory in the 20th century as it is. Like, oh, and now all of a sudden you're telling me, like, I can actually, reassert an identity that has been there long before America, long before the Soviet Union was ever a thing. Like, yeah, I'm going to go for it. And so, I mean, again, a nationalism as a reaction to the 20th century is good and natural and normal, and it's expected of us. And I think that we're going to see more of it in the coming years. Well, and we did. Although, and it really did come more to fruition anyway in the midst of the Euro crisis and an unpopular war in the Middle East led by the Americans. And then, of course, Georgia in 2008. And also South Ossetia. And everything that happened in the late 90s anyways. Like, yeah, some people were like, maybe this European community thing isn't working out for us.
Yeah. I mean, again, if you read up, like, what happened during the Bosnian War, I mean, oh, boy. Like, it's. Oof.
The problem, of course, has been that these sides have not been as successful as perhaps we would like.
Right. But that, exactly. I mean, like, it's even the Croatians did a fair bit against the Serbians and vice versa. So, it's very funny because I think this is a point. Like, I haven't read much of it. Because it recently came, but Keith Woods wrote his recent book, which is a compilation of his articles. I believe he also talks about this point about the origins of nationalist sentiment. And so it would behoove me to not mention it would behoove me if I didn't mention it. So I know a lot of people may not like Keith Woods, but I always like to support a fellow person in this thing of ours, personal feelings aside. I like Keith Woods, but Serbian summer camp Groyper? Oh my God!
You seem very determined to have a quote unquote correct opinion on that conflict, Gio.
What do you mean?
Like you're choosing you're doing your usual, like, yes, but also this happened. You're doing your usual anointed takes about making sure the right things get said.
Yeah, true. Because I don't want people accusing me of, like, invalidating, people's suffering. It's just, I don't know, man. Like, okay, listen, I will admit, I'm more persuaded by, I'm not going to say it, because people are like, oh, you see, you're a Vatnik, you're a Serbian nationalist. See? It's like, no, it's like things are more complicated than that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, but I do think
you got a nuance, bro, over here.
I know, but I do think that the bombing of Belgrade was a total travesty, and that these people were doing it to each other, and that to, like, pick out the Serbians as uniquely evil among all of them is sort of like a weirdo propaganda move by the Clinton administration. That's my true opinion. Not to condone, like, what the Serbians actually did. The Serbians did a lot of terrible, disgusting things, as everyone was doing a lot of terrible, disgusting things in Eastern Europe at that point. So, yeah. Don't ask Gio what he did in Sarajevo in 1993 when I was 1 year old.
Yeah, we can't trust Gio.
Gio doesn't want the Balkanoids to ice him in the streets of Ontario. Yeah, there's quite a bit of Croatians and Slovenians and Ukrainians here in Canada, especially where I live. So, there's actually quite a bit of Serbians that live near me. There's a lot of the Serbians in the Naga region, they own a lot of these strip clubs. I'm not joking. That's actually true.
It's where they get their girls.
I've only been to like one strip club in my life, and it was terrible. I shouldn't say that. It was all right, but like I wouldn't actually go to one. I'm not gonna like. I don't know. It just defeats the point, you know. I don't know. It's just
I'm not a fan of them either. I don't get the attraction to it. Like if I wanted to see a woman naked and I wouldn't be able to really appreciate or go home with her and also get drunk and blow a lot of money, at that point I might as well turn on loud music in my bedroom, spray a bunch of perfume that smells like shit, drink myself into a hangover and drunken stupor, blow a $100 bill and bang my head against the wall while jerking off. Like what? And like I would be fucking miserable. That sounds awful.
Listening to Nightcore. While listening to Nightcore.
Like, it just sounds fucking terrible, you know? Like, gee, why do that when I can just go, like, pick a chick up and get laid the old-fashioned way? I don't know.
Prude, a lot of guys don't have that luxury, man. Oh.
Just sounds like a little, just sounds like a waste.
Well, you know what's funny is that strip clubs are actually the more, like, return to tradition option with like the world of like OnlyFans.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure that they are. I was never a patron of them.
No, but I mean, like, it's the same dynamic when you really think about it. Because I remember, like, there was like this old. Oh, I shouldn't even admit to doing this. There was like this older stripper that like we had like this conversation. It was like I think when I just turned 19 or whatever. Like some like older friends.
Define older in this instance.
She was like in her 40s, but she still looked good, you know. She looked pretty good, and like, you know. But the thing is, though, like I realized at that moment that the same model of like OnlyFans and like, you know, a lot of these cam girls, like the strippers were like ahead of the times before like the internet, because they do the same tactics of like convincing you that they're your friend or whatever, or like they you know, they could see like a lonely, sensitive young man. And they like go for it, you know what I mean? Like, so it's the same dynamic. It's just that I think like, not that I condone people like going to strip clubs, but like that like real life relationship, like in real life sort of experience. I mean, is that like more noble than like paying for an OnlyFans woman? Like it's just to say hi to you. Like that's just I don't know. It's just,
I mean, in the difference between what was more socially damaging, I would agree that the OnlyFans has been worse. Not saying that we should return to strip club. That's not my modus operandi here for social politics, but
Ontario strip clubs are a scene. It's true. Have you been to the Sundowner, Obsidian? Have you been to the Sundowner? Oh, you know what's so funny? It's crazy when people actually are from Ontario and they listen to this stream.
You know who else has been a Sundowner? Joe Biden.
Whoa! No, but what were you saying, Prue, before I cut you off?
Again, I don't really endorse the return to strip club, but I mean, also it's a generational thing. Like my older friends are more strip club friendly, whereas a good chunk of the younger people would prefer the online. Just because
boomers go to strip clubs.
Well, that you can sell the girl next door fantasy is a lot easier to sell when you can like get your own custom shit. Whereas
you can bracket in your mind the fact that she's doing that to 100 other guys.
Yeah. Whereas you're not looking at like the sleazy divorced dad who's like 5 drinks in and missing his wife and kids getting a lap dance or whatever, you know, like there's a difference.
Yeah, it's true. Owen Zaleski, is Gio talking about strip clubs for 15 minutes ago? Is Gio talking about e-girls? Well, you'd be surprised how many e-girls started off as strippers and vice versa. So Gio's now finding out that strippers didn't really love him. You people are mean. Oh my god.
You set yourself up for this.
I know. Trump has announced Gio for the head of the Bing. I'm going to take Silvio's spot now that he's in that coma. That's amazing. That's amazing. Gio for head of the Bing. That's a Sopranos reference, by the way. 40-year-old stripper's heart of gold can 40-year-old stripper's heart reverts alchemically back to lead. You people are mean. She was pretty nice to me. She was all right. I think her name was Cherry.
I'm just imagining like a clean shaven, like, you know, young 19-year-old Gio, you know, and he's a little heartbroken. College hasn't been good to him, and who takes care of him other than like Sylvia, the nice 40-year-old stripper at the local, like right outside of his college. And he's just like, "Don't worry, sweetie, you're too good for them. You're better than all these chumps. I believe in you, Gio."
She was French too.
Oh, Gio, these girls, you're too good for them. You know, it'll be fine. You have to get the
Quebecois accent down
pat. Fuck them.
Yeah. It's harsher. It's way more harsher than the real French accent. Apparently, I've been informed by Holy Fool in the chat that Nightmare Efsler has quote tweeted my post about rating Blue Sky with trolling was something very special. So let me go. I probably cannot put this on stream.
Probably not. Not if it's that. Yeah, not if it's that nightmare.
No, it's not gonna. Yeah. Oh my God! So Will Stotts. What the hell is this? What the hell is this?
See, this is why we should do a Rumble stream, so we can show this on screen.
This is insanity. This is...
Having a good time there, buddy? Oh, I can hear the cock crow.
Yeah, I can't, like, I'm afraid it's going to be like a copyright. But, you know, that's like...
So where's your Blue Sky?
I'm going to post an Orson Welles GIF where he's smoking. It's like this is really,
I see it.
You know,
I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I would not encourage you to post that on. Oh dear God. Oh my.
Oh my God. Twitter has become a hell. So this is what Will Stonso said. Twitter's really become a hell of the last 2 weeks. It was bad before, but even then it's been something else. Man.
Well, I mean, it's nice to see them get a taste of their own medicine when it comes to the issue of we want a safe space. I feel like, again, not, you know, that not everything that has been done before. There's nothing new under the sun. Just, you know, we're watching them try to run and retreat to get some kind of safe space, and then now, the left won't leave us alone. Why won't these mean rightoids? Why won't they just let us be on our blue sky?
Oh, that's
and it's
terrible.
Like, maybe I want to win, and maybe you won't be left alone. You know?
Yeah.
Do you ever think about that? How nice.
Oh my God.
I hate how debased our politics has become.
Yeah, someone said, "Can anyone post on Blue Sky without getting banned?" But apparently they haven't got through the ban evasion thing. Like, apparently, like, the ban evasion mechanism on Blue Sky is really terrible.
Oh, so it's like easy to make just a million alts.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
It's like very.
I don't have the time or energy to harass leftists that much. So I mean, cool, I guess, if you're like a dedicated poster or if you're a NEET with a lot of time on his hands, but I just don't have fucking time for that.
Yeah.
Who does?
We could end it here. We could end it for all time.
You know, although, I mean, honestly, if all of it would take would be like one or two guys probably trying to DDoS Blue Sky. Not that I would encourage that, because that's technically a crime, I guess, but I mean, you could end it right there.
Yeah. Apparently, the moderation team on Blue Sky is getting swamped. So.
Oh, gee, I wonder why. Sir, we've got a huge influx of just like really annoying, whining children that report everything on site. What do we do? Well, answer the ticket. Sir, there's like 3 million tickets. Oh, this might be a problem.
They're just gonna have to like keep like auto banning people. Like they're just gonna like not even look at the report. They're just gonna have to like they're gonna have to do something to like maintain the overflow. It's just like not because like those people, they absolutely report everything. And so like what I've seen is that there's certain frogs that are like they're like they're like taking like pictures, like they're AI pictures of like you know, by POC people, like tricking them. Like, not that I encourage it, just for YouTube's sake. I don't encourage any platform manipulation whatsoever. You know, hopefully you don't go on Blue Sky and troll them, that you just stay in your lane. But there are people that are doing it. It's very, very unfortunate that people are trolling Blue Sky and, you know, getting banned. Anyways, let's move on with Kondylis. Regardless of whether one feels or for welcomes or fears or condemns the rebellion. Okay, we already read this. A general reference to the nation without a more detailed description of the world in which the nation holds its own, unfolds, and wants to define itself does not suffice. Even if certain nations over longer periods of time perennially are grouped approximately in accordance with the same pattern as friends and foe, we must pose every time anew the question as to the driving forces moving such nations and looking into the relation of these driving forces with the predominant world historical tendencies. It is demonstrably false to attribute friendship or enmity between nations to immutable racial given facts or inflexible psychical archetypes, and to overlook the infinite plasticity of the interests and the aims constantly being newly defined. Eternal enmities merely result from situations of permanently conflicting interests. So in a way, he's saying that he's holding back from the analysis of explicit like racial nationalism or any form of nationalism that has like an ever constant, ever present historical enemy. But he's giving more of a pragmatic point by saying that political realities change. I mean, this is in keeping with his notion of conceptual history. Historical and political notions around that very friend-enemy distinction changes. And so even though nationalism props up from its original root affects as something very similar, but those archetypal, racial, and political orientations around how nationalism is expressed with its root in friend-enemy distinctions, those are things that are plastic. Those are things that has actually changed over time. And so he's just making like a basic pragmatic point here, right? Now, some given enmities do last longer, in some cases hundreds of years. Well, in some cases thousands of years. But he's saying that political conditions change. But that same element of nationalism tends to be perennial, right? And this is the basis of conceptual history, is that you have to look at the facts on the ground in any historical situation to really cast any political judgment on those realities going into the future. Which, I mean, a lot of people in academic political history do not do this, but they're a bunch of midwits, so who cares?
So true.
So true. Yeah, exactly. If Western observers were not worried and embarrassed in respect of the reason just stated, they would have had to look at the revival of Eastern European and Balkan nationalism as a normal phenomenon in a century whose first half also in Europe and whose second half outside of Europe was under the influence of nationalism. This is then, of course, becomes evident only if one dispenses with the navel gazing of a supranationally talking and acting Western Europe. If one brings to mind the planetary dimension and simply counts how many sovereign states there were 40 years ago in comparison to today, the large number of newly added states spread through a huge nationalistic wave on the African and Asian continents. Many of them were the result of long struggles, which also involved many sacrifices in the course of what national identities, consciousnesses were consolidated. An approach to the comprehension of the historical character of this nationalism is often to us as if if we contemplate its fundamental difference to European bourgeoisie nationalism of the 19th century, which developed under the earlier later influence of the French Revolution, to which you could say the American Revolution was, in a way, a bourgeois nationalism in the 19th century. The revolution constituted the nation through the political catchwords of freedom and equality, which in concreto meant the homogenization of the national space through the putting aside of estate-based privileges, i.e. the privileges of the aristocracy and the clergy, and local or feudal autonomies. So again, you have the creation of absolute monarchies that got rid of the ancient regime to which local and feudal autonomies took precedent in the ancient regime, according to Juvenal. Then after the crystallization of power in absolute monarchies, then the secularization of those monarchies, then you have French Revolution nationalism under a hotly atheistic secular notion of freedom and equality that then led to the Reign of Terror. And so you have the disenfranchising of these older institutions, be it monarchies, feudal lords, clergy, etc., was a consequence towards the interior, namely an occupation of the national space through social forces which were willing and able to nationalize this space, to unify, standardize its politically, legally, and economically themselves. Certainly, the unification or standardization of the national space inwardly made its borders more clearly cut outwardly, and this had to entail conflicts with the neighboring states, irrespective of whether these neighboring states were state-based, absolutist, or national liberal states. However, historical centers of gravity of bourgeois nationalism did not lead in these conflicts, which are to be looked upon as bourgeois nationalism's variable side effects, be it an aforementioned conquest and homogenization of each and every respective available internal space. The priorities reversed during the anti-colonial nationalism of the 20th century. Now that there are no endeavors at unification towards the internal space occurred. On the contrary, such endeavors were undertaken very energetically by some nationalisms, above all communalistically orientated nationalisms. However, they could also more or less slacken if, for instance, at the head of the nationalistic movements stood patriarchal traditionalist forces. Whereas if that in the European nationalism of the 19th century had an identifiable social barrier, namely the bourgeoisie, even the countries, i.e. in Germany, in which the national question one way or another was solved through the political action of a wing of the conservative forces, this happened under the pressure of the bourgeois program in order to take the wind out of the bourgeoisie sails. Very different strata or elites undertook each and every respective political guidance of the nationalism of the 20th century. Because here the fundamental problem, the main matter of concern, was a different one. It was namely not primarily the matter of the conquest of internal national space, but of the independence towards the exterior against a foreign ruler, or at any rate of the freedom of movements in foreign policy against a threatening neighbor. Nationalism was not for now on primarily the effort of every particular nation to win a fixed and indisputable place inside of the world society being formed. So here we have a very fundamental break in the notion of nationalism. From one that harmonizes all elements of society that were fragmented under bourgeois society, with an even more bourgeois nationalism that preached a notion of fraternity inside of the state, that then created a crystallization of borders that then would conflict with other European nations. Now in the 20th century, Kondylis notes that nationalism takes on a much more fragmented, ethnocentric, and nationalistic character that we are more accustomed to nowadays. Whereas bourgeois 19th century post-French Revolution nationalism is something that is of a wholly different notion, that in fact explicitly got rid of claims to ethnicity and to difference inside of that state. But now we have the reintroduction of difference in these other nationalisms in the 20th century. Now we have the politics of today. in so many different ways. So I thought that was a good point, Prude.
Yeah, and I mean, and again, you can kind of see this on the level of development of a nation. I mean, places that have, especially post-colonial states, what is everything still based on and rooted there? It's still ethnicity. Here in America, it's definitely not so much. Although it's, I mean, there's still fragments of that, even in Europe as well. But it's not to the degree in which it may have been founded in the beginning of the 20th century. Even more secularized monarchies, none of that matters anymore. Everything has been technicized and has been reduced to deterritorialized economic zones in which you fight for. The national interest becomes this amorphous item of detail in which you can't even ask the "what is a nation" question of Ernest Renan. You read that now, and that's a profoundly, like, I guess what you would say, like, big L liberal document. Ernest Renan's "What is a Nation." You read that today, and people would call you a far-right ethno-nationalist.
Yeah.
That's how much things have changed.
I forget who said that. I think it was Argent, who said that when it comes to, like, a lot of these, like, post-colonial struggle movements that embody a form of nationalism, it really kind of was... not in the sense of the Austrian painter, but it kind of was like a nationalistic form of socialism. Like, these were socialist and even communist movements, but they had a third worldist notion of nationalism. Not to say, like, okay, if this was 2017, a lot of people in the political right would be like, oh, that's great, that's amazing, Amprim, Pol Pot stand, blah, blah, blah. But now that, the political right in the E-right has sort of, like, moved on from that, like, wholesome Chungist communitarianism. I mean, it's still there. I mean, some of those ideas are still interesting, but these post-colonial movements, they were, like, something that the contemporary left would find abominable and terrible. So they kind of were, like, it's in a way, like, what Kondylis is saying is that the march of history that was sold to us after the end of the Soviet Union, that was sold to us by people like Kojève and Fukuyama, that in actuality, in the later half of the 20th century and into the 21st century, you have more difference and more awareness of identity than ever before. It's not that it destroyed it. It's not that the French Revolution carried on forever into this, like, end of history, that the bourgeois would be unleashed, that the bourgeois would even conquer itself, and that we'd have this, like, weirdo, like, kind of state-run capitalist planetary politics that had no identity. It's like, no, actually, there's a lot of people throughout the world, and I know this is, like, a wholesome Chungist third world point, but there's, like, a lot of people throughout the world that actually still cling on to their identities, that actually still embody a different form of nationalism. This is why I think, like, the political right does sort of, like, I mean, not to be too contrarian, right? But there is a sense that the political right does have this, like, knee-jerk reaction to the word nationalism as, like, an inherent good, when nationalism has gone through a number of permutations and manifestations from the French Revolution onwards that you could say wasn't exactly right-wing in scope. That only, like, right-wing notions of what quote-unquote nationalism is, as, like, this is based world, that really didn't... it was there in the Thermidorians. It was there under de Maistre, certainly. But it really didn't crystallize until the 20th century. Now, by saying that, now I do agree with Keith Woods that says that these notions of ethnicity and identity are much older. In fact, they are ancient. But in terms of the modern notion of identity and nationalism, I wouldn't countersignal people like Foucault that says that it was largely a creation of the 19th and then 20th century in terms of the development of political theory at that time. I'm not countersignaling the right wing that says that nationalism is an ancient force. It definitely is. But the reawakening or rediscovery of nationalism as an ancient force, that comes about in the 20th century. That wasn't there in the French Revolution. It was kind of there a bit. It was kind of there in the American Revolution, but I mean, I don't know. Comparing the American Revolution to the French Revolution, in a lot of ways, is kind of like apples to oranges. But there's a lot of complex things, and I do think, not to totally counter signal people, but there is a notion that a lot of right wingers do have this like knee-jerk affiliation with nationalism, when there is a lot of different historical developments to that word and to that political concept. And it takes a conceptual history lens to really parse out these different relations. And I think Kondylis does a really great job. I mean, this is why this exact line greatly influenced Paul Gottfried when he talks about, especially after liberalism, right? So, yeah. So, there's a lot of nuance. I'm nuancing broing here, but I'm just saying that it can lead to confusions of ideology if you have a lot of like a knee-jerk either repulsion or affiliation to certain political categories. And you are confusing an ideology pertaining to the existence of a nation state versus nation proper, which is a concept relating to lineage, in some cases intermarriage. No, exactly, Elmwiz. Yeah, I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. I would distinguish the ancient regime and the ancient forms of nationalism that constitutes a nation of a people, rather than a bourgeois political orientation of nationalism as defined by a harmonization of all political bodies within a border. So you are correct, right? But I think the language of nationalism is the best that we're going to get nowadays, because nowadays when people say nationalism, they think right wing. And I think that's like a heuristic that is there for a reason, that sticks in people's minds, whether they're on the left or the right. And it's something that we're going to have to live with. And it's just, yeah. So broadly, pro-nationalism is of the political right nowadays for obvious reasons. So, anyways, do you have something to add, Prude?
I think that what you're trying to flesh out is the same thing that Gottfried tries to flesh out in the first 3 chapters of After Liberalism when it comes to definitions. I mean, to be called liberal in the same way to be called nationalist is going to have 2 radically different definitions depending on which time period you're in. And I think that that's an important thing to make note of. I mean, it's the same thing when it comes to even political movements on the right, you know, like, oh, well, dissident right doesn't really mean much outside of a catch-all term because alt-right became politically poisoned. And even then that became a term that Gottfried coined in the like early 90s. And
Richard Spencer stole.
And then Richard Spencer took it and ran with it, which, oh man, I have a funny story about that, but we'll get into that. I'll tell that in a minute. And it was the moment when I realized, oh man, Matt, you need to shut the hell up right now. Lest you,
I mean, sit my ass down and listen. Yeah.
Well, I did a little bit of that too, because we, ironically, we were talking about like the history of like just how these terms came about. Because someone asked me about like, they're like, Matt, you follow politics. They're like, does alt-right even mean anything anymore? And I was like, man, it hasn't meant anything since Richard Spencer let that term die in 2017. and I was just like, and he's kind of just become this like, you know, contrarian where, you know, the things that he was like kind of for, he's now sort of against. And I said he kind of acts in a very I said in a very flamboyant kind of gay way, and then all of a sudden, my fucking priest goes and he's like, "Wait a second, he was married to that Russian chick for a while, wasn't he?" And he's like, "Then he got a divorce." And I was like, "Okay, Matt, you need to shut up right now before you say anything else that tips you off about what you know about these people and what
the
he
deep
knows."
lore.
I was like, "How much does he know, and how much do I need to shut up before I like oust myself as a total right winger?" But yeah, no, like this is the conceptual K line here about what do these terms mean. Like there's an etymology that you need to be playing with here, but also that that kind of historiography is important for anyone to conceptualize the term. Because again, even if you want to have like a conversation with other right wingers when we disagree about terms, this is the only side that still gives a shit about definitions,
right?
Because the left doesn't care. Fascism doesn't mean anything to the left other than what I don't like, or we're just going to do like the authoritarian personality. And even then, that is
Umberto Eco, we're just
going to call back to Umberto Eco, or we're going to talk about how like we need to reframe the concept of the family, right? They'll pull a little from Deleuze and Guattari, but outside of that, it's just like, okay, I'm tired. It's the same shit. You've metaphysically crystallized yourself. I'm waiting for new lefty thinkers to emerge. I don't.
By the way, when do you want to do Anti-Oedipus with Dimes?
I'm doing that this Monday.
I thought you wanted me to join.
It's a 2-parter, so you will be on the second part.
Okay.
Do not worry. It will happen.
No, but that's what I mean. Like, even Deleuze and Guattari, they didn't like... Okay, you could say that you can read... You definitely can read... I mean, to be fair to leftist activists, you definitely can read a political project in things like Anti-Oedipus, but it's like... There's a lot of, like, philosophic nuance in terms of what they were responding to in the Western tradition than, like, just saying, okay, he means destroy the family the way that we know it as, like, the bourgeois atomic family. It's like, you could definitely read that into it, to be fair to, like, the academics, but
sure,
there's a lot more nuance. It's like I don't think Deleuze would, if he was alive today, he'd be like, yeah, you know what? Just, like, go and, like, destroy the family, man. Like, that's really the meaning of what I was writing about in 1,000 Plateaus. It's like, no, there's a lot of engagement with the history of Western philosophy and continental thought up until that point that he doesn't, like, really, he's not, like, saying, go and be an activist. It's like, people that have this, like, absolutely ridiculous, like, people, I saw this the other week about, like, the election. People were trying to, like, read some, like, weirdo Deleuzian analysis into it. It's just like, you people are midwits. You people, I hate to say it. Like, listen, I may be a midwit, but, like, it's like, you people don't even realize, like, it's just, it really frustrates me, man. Like, there's a lot, you know what the problem is? The problem are activist academics that butcher these texts and then feed it to the revolutionaries, and they think that it's like a cut and dry, one-to-one conveyor belt between the theory and the praxis. I'm sorry. It doesn't work that way. It's just... Yeah, exactly. You know, am I the last person in this world, Lightning NC, that has this self-awareness and humility are utterly dead, Gio? Exactly.
Oh, yeah. They're gone. Those are foreign concepts to lefties, good sir.
Yeah. Blue sky without organs. I'm gonna tweet that. I'm gonna tweet. Thank you, Faisal Goose. Blue sky without organs. Oh my god. Blue sky without organs. Oh my god. I unfortunately deleted that other tweet because I was worried that it was going to get the attention of ne'er-do-wells. But disembodied blue sky. The blue sky without organs. Disilento. Listen, you guys should listen. Disilento, if you want me to read your analysis, please need those super chats, okay? Like, listen, I had this conversation that I shouldn't do things for free anymore, that I should, like, really value my time. But, I mean, I can't be... Listen.
Well, he's got a point, though.
No, but I can't be that much of a grifter. I can't be that much of a bastard, because it really is a good point. So, Disilento, reaction in the New Left thinkers. Where does the left go after post-structuralism, though? Kind of hard to do anything when the terminal thought is break everything apart and leave it there on the ground, I guess. Now, I would disagree with that assessment of post-structuralism, but I do think that the sort of like pop theory iteration of a lot of these post-structuralists has been essentially just deconstruction. And so I do think that in the terms of the activist modern left, you are correct. They really don't have anywhere to go. And I do think that...
They'll go to cybernetics.
Yeah, but like, who loves cyber... Who
no, Gio. Yeah. My point is, it doesn't matter who loves it or who cares about it. The point is that if you're left in a confidence crisis of your ideology, which post-structuralism is probably going to have to go through one, and it probably is going through with one, because all of a sudden you've broken all bonds that is left to do. And you have now broken down everything to its like bare consumption where, the woke are more correct than the mainstream, because you have broken it down to a point of we're trying to reverse fundamental truths that cannot be reversed and reverse engineer basic tendencies like human biology or our predilection towards race and IQ. And so I think the reason why you're going to have to deal with cybernetics and why that's going to go somewhere, like the Donna Haywires of the world and stuff like that, is that is the only ideology, or at least the only realm of theory right now that is currently being developed that is trying to reconcile like a post-technic age where everyone is sort of permanently attached to a machine. You're already living in a transhumanist era. The left is going to somehow have to deal with that. And I'm sorry, I don't think the 19th and 20th century ideologies of socialism and communism and post-structuralism are going to necessarily make it in an age where like deterritorialization happens the moment your 2-year-old touches the iPad screen.
Yeah,
it will be it will be cybernetics. The left is going to have to go there. And if they don't want to go there, then I'm fine with the right trying to navigate what form of humanity gets off this planet.
No,
I'm fine with that.
Like who like really took up a lot, like, okay, apart from like strange like parapolitics people that are in the utter minority in the political left, who really takes up a lot of like cybernetic theory, or at least accelerationist ideas that are derivative of cybernetics? It's the political right. It's like, it really, like, we have cornered online anthropology, although I do see that there are like mainstream Substack lefty people that are trying to do what Kathrine and me do, and it's just, they haven't been there, so it's very clunky, and they haven't got things down. Like, and when you have like thinkers that do engage with this stuff, I mean, for example, Byung-Chul Han, I mean, he does have his like boomerisms, but like you wouldn't constitute him as like, you could say he is a version of post-structuralist thinking, but you're not going to say that he's like, put it this way. A lot of his conclusions would really make Jacob Geller uncomfortable. Put it that way. Put it that way.
So true.
Oh boy. So, that's what I mean. Like, it's you're 100% right, Prude. It's like the future will be very different in terms of the philosophic systems that will gain popularity. And the political left, they kind of already did go through a crisis, although it didn't get fully fleshed out, because their response is, why can't we just have like metamodernism and new sincerity? And, we're going to like feel things again. And we're going to like have like wholesome Chungus honesty, philosophically and psychologically. It's like, well, what did that produce? Okay. That produced the confessional article. That produced autofiction. And that put it this way, it left a lot of people hanging. Okay. And the right wing, they were starting to get into metamodernism anyways. You remember Trudeau Tom? Let me post the ancient Giga Chad. Remember Trudeau Tom? Right? So I don't know. I think like we can effectively route them philosophically. It's just that oh my God, Matty Ice. What a name. I can't put that on screen. I can't put that. I can't. Oh my God.
That's hilarious. My 2-year-old will never touch the iPad screen. Well, good.
Good. Where's
the right does not necessarily have a corner, though. I agree with Lightning and C in chat.
Yeah, that's true.
The right wing does not have it. It's a bunch of like online morons like ourselves that are there's a couple of knuckleheads on the internet.
Before like becoming a Chinese asset, I was a knucklehead, really.
I'm friends with school,
Tech9 Tim, Tech9 fool, it's your bedtime.
There's a lot of let's remake humanity, wig sloth left types who love cybernetic. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The right doesn't have a corner on it, although to some extent the effective accelerationist types are also trying to cut in on it. But that's also again just the logical conclusion of the Californian ideology.
Yeah, but like they're like the equivalent of like woke centrists. They're like the equivalent of Barry Weiss. I hate to say it. It's like I shouldn't.
They're not agents. They're not Mossad agents. What do you mean?
No, but I shouldn't say that. I should like there's a lot of interesting things coming out of EAX, but I do notice that unfortunately EAX has this problem where like a lot of these like crypto people, a lot of these like Silicon Valley influencer types are getting in on it, and so like there's this need to like bastardize it and make it like more mainstream. And so I think like a lot of the good work that EAX people are doing, they unfortunately get polluted by like like the Lex Friedman podcast circuit type of thing. And so that, I don't want to be totally unfair to, if there's any like EAX people listening to this, I don't want to be like totally unfair. You know what I mean? I think that they're doing some good stuff, but there's a lot of people that do hate EAX. And EAX has a lot of tendency to attract people with big heads. Well, Dreesen has done a lot of great work. I can't listen. I'm not like I always say this. Okay, I'm skeptical of Silicon Valley people, but I do think that some of them are kind of like seeing outside of the box. And it's not to say that we're like taking money from like Horowitz and Andreessen. It's just that, you have to like be realistic about what these people can do for the online right, and you have to be like consciously aware of people having ulterior motives, you know what I mean? But not to say, but then also the other side is like, you can't like totally demonize these people either, because I think that eventually the right wing is going to have some kind of patronage network. It's just going to have to happen. And it's just, it's a very sticky, it's trying to thread a very tight needle. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Superchats.
And I know that Land has like retracted his statement, or that he regrets saying nothing human makes out of the near future. And then in his, and then that Theory Underground stream, he's focusing a lot about weight. It's nothing obese that makes it out of the near future. No poly saturated fats will make it out of the future. Like I guess the thin shall inherit the earth in that respect. But I think the post-structuralism will have to go somewhere into cybernetics if it wants to survive. And I mean and I think that even to some extent, any real nationalist movement is going to have to seriously reconcile the fact that we live in a space where petty nationalism, and not petty, but like petite, like civic or little e ethno, like it's sort of these like big tent forms of nationalism that are kind of used either as like containment or just sort of as the political model of the day. They're going to have to dive into some sort of cybernetic analysis as well, because like all of a sudden we live in an age of like the great deterritorializer. But on top of that, you can easily be reterritorialized and reprogrammed online into consumer identity, into fandom, into, even the reduction of political and national identities to be nationalists. Like that can be so packaged and tailored for people to take on a national identity that doesn't
Disneyland
belong
nationalism.
To them. Well, not even just Disneyland, but even look at current contemporary conflicts. Like I don't,
that's
but like
Disneyland nationalism. Yeah.
Well, Gio, are you Russian?
No, but
okay, but and it's not to call you out specifically, but it illustrates a point where it's like, dude, why are you like Z posting? You live in like fucking Kansas City, like. And really, these fandoms are really, if anything, as we've noticed, like
you totally called me out. It's true.
Just a little bit, but but it illustrates a fine point to make, which is like, yes, like we will have a Catholic Reconquista. We're gonna start it right here in Austin, Texas, and it's just like, dude, Mr. Orca, you brown, and it's just like it's an ethnic animus that's layered on top of like a pseudo-religious one, and so all of a sudden now we have what I would consider homeopathic politics. Like we've reduced it down to the tiniest particulate. In which then we say, this tiny little particle in this like large mass of like saline solution or sugar pill or whatever, this is all that I need to really understand what's going on in the world, when really you're actually consuming a big nothing pill or a placebo. But then on top of that, right, like you're also having to deal with the fact that actually there's some realities that you're looking over conveniently for the sake of your this newfound identity that you've invented and created. And I don't think that bodes well for the future of nationalism either. However, when the benefit is that a lot of this online stuff dies pretty quickly once it meets contact with like a horde of angry like Muslim immigrants yelling at you in the streets.
I hate to say it, but like, no, but that's what I mean. Like, as much as you want to believe, it's like sort of like Catholic integral nationalism is closer to Adrian Vermeule than it's closer to Conquistador Crusader online. I hate to say it. It's just, that's the way it is in America. You know what I mean? Like it's just the Deneen's and the Vermeules of the world will determine what is Catholic integralism, than Conquistador Crusader or Catholic Orca. It's just like, that's just the way it works. I hate to say it. Like, I don't mean to like burst people's bubbles as a Catholic myself. I'm just saying that you have to like, well, first of all, you have to reconcile the realities of like Catholicism, and especially the American context is a very tricky and complicated thing. And just like coming in with like a very easy, digestible, like, you know, America first, but also Christ is King Catholicism is like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, there's a lot of complexity there, and you have to like realize that there has been a certain, like, you know, bad faith actors like these academics, you know, and it's like, I think like there is like a lot of young Zoomer Caths and a lot of young Zoomer orthos that want you know, religious nationalism on their own terms where they live, but unfortunately there's a lot of complications with it. And
I mean, I do genuinely think that in the years ahead, and I pray to God that I'm wrong, I genuinely do, I really hope that I'm wrong, but I do think that there will be a huge amount of like people that say they're ex-Catholic or ex-Orthodox because it didn't fulfill their petty you know, desires for like my heckin', you know, like czarist state didn't happen, you know, and it's just like, well, it wasn't gonna happen. You know, in the same way that like I don't think that you're gonna get like, you know, the United States of like of Guadalupe to happen. I just don't think that's gonna be the case. But people are gonna like, you know, and I think that there will be some people that realize, oh, like to actually be those things, to actually be a good Catholic or a good Orthodox Christian is going to require you to actually pick up your cross and follow him, not just you know, think like, oh, okay, like I can put the flag or like the 3-barred cross in my bio, and like all of a sudden, like I've got my new identity and it's also good and based now. Turns out, no, life isn't going to be that way. And remember, like you're joining a religion that is inherently non, you know, worldly. Good luck getting the problems that you want solved that way.
We have to sort the politics out first before we can truly believe. That's the problem. Yeah.
And so it's just like, well, again, I think it's a tragic consequence, but again, it is illustrative of a much bigger problem that has been affecting men, especially for years, which has just been the whole crisis of meaning and identity. Yeah. Because again, it's a great deracinated age, and some will seek nationalism in ways in which has never really been American, and some will try and facilitate their own kind of like national Volkish identity here in the United States and in other places. You know, like I know that there are some that want to like return to like German clubs and such, which, I mean, if you want to pull that off, good luck. I wish you the best. But I also know that it may not be as successful as you want it to be. And I think that nationalism is going to have to reconcile with that. And I think that's why I think it will probably have more, I don't want to say luck. I think it has a stronger position in Europe than it does in America, just because, you know, those are ethnic supermajorities. Like you can still speak to very raw, basic truths because your identities are not as young and not as commercialized or reduced to guns, burgers, and boobs, you know? And it's really tragic too, because America does have a pretty rich set of traditions and identities that unfortunately have just been so pushed out of the American public consciousness. It's or
turned into like a kitsch pastiche of itself.
Well, and I mean, again, what is America?
Norman Rockwell painting, Coca-Cola,
and what's America fundamentally ruled by anyway at this point? Well, just like consumeristic post-war liberalism.
Exactly. Yeah. You know what's funny? They always play at Christmas time the like the sort of like Coca-Cola, Norman Rockwell, Santa Claus type thing.
Yeah.
You know, like it is a very powerful image in the American psyche. Owen Zaleski, you guys are too theory-pilled on this stuff. IRL stuff is much different than what you or Twitter cast think. That's what we're saying, though, Owen Zaleski.
Yeah, no, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
That's what we're saying. Oh, the Auto Cults episode in Dark Stoa, 2020. It seems. I have to look that up. I mean, the Stoa actually does have like interesting people once in a while, but then of course they have like they do put out like a lot of coal and a lot of like bread tube interviews and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, like the Stoa does do some good work.
Speaking of Kohlers, I have a deep-seated fear I'm going to end up watching the What If Alt Hist interview on Benjamin Boyce's channel.
Oh boy.
The title caught my attention, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. I'm going to end up watching this mess, aren't I?
What was the title again?
The kids are alt-right.
Oh my god.
Or all the cool kids are alt-right, excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no, I'm going to end up watching this, aren't I?
Oh man. Well, okay. Well, it's getting late, so we'll read it.
2 times speed, Matthew. 2 times speed.
That dude is kind of weird. Yeah, he is kind of weird.
Just a little. Just a little
bit weird.
Just a little. I mean, we're fucking weird ourselves, but I don't think that
but
bad.
He's got that counter signal gene, unfortunately. Like he's got.
Well, he's got that. I have 100,000+ subs on my YouTube channel, and I'm dealing with not being a total lefty retard, but also that like I can't go too far without getting my channel in trouble. And he's got some really terrible takes on American culture to begin with that really do not sit well with me. And he's got like some of those like libtarded takes about like, well, you know, culture and it's been stolen. And I'm like, I mean, why are you doing the whole white people have no culture take? That's pretty dumb.
Yeah, he's done other things too, like where he'll counter signal like a lot of mainstream positions on the E-right, and it's just like I don't know, like I can't like fully block him like I do with Hanania, but like it's just I don't know, man. Like
who?
What's his name? Right thou?
No. Who are you talking about? The other guy.
Hanania?
Who's that?
Oh, I don't know. Like he's some guy. I don't know.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't know
just
who
like
he is.
some. I saw him once, and it's just like I don't like. I had this bad feeling about this guy. His name's Hosty or Hanania or something.
Yeah, I've heard of him. I've heard he's a bad guy.
Yeah, it's just you know, if you see him online, just stay away.
Block him. Yeah.
Yeah. Just don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Do not research.
Apparently, he has a Blue Sky account now.
Maybe he'll stay there.
Yeah, he should stay. Yeah.
I would pay him to stay there. Yeah,
what if alt hist?
What if alt hist?
Oh, what if alt history?
Yeah, that's his channel.
Like alt hype. Remember alt hype? That's an easy.
Oh yeah. Didn't he get his Twitter? Yeah, it's like he's still on Twitter.
Yeah.
He got his account reinstated.
Yeah, I think like he was in a war with Fuentes or something. I don't know.
I think he got in a war with Blackpill, didn't he? And
he got a war. Yeah, he got in a war with Devin Stack. Yeah. But like one of these people, not like a lot of old heads on YouTube, they unfortunately do like go to war with each other periodically. Like there was this 4-hour documentary, and I don't know why I'm watching it. A 4-hour documentary on King of Pole that came out recently.
Oh my gosh.
It's actually pretty good. Like, I think King of Pole said he like watched my stuff once in a while, so I can't like counter signal him too hard. But like, he has gotten into like an immense amount of wars over the years. But you know what? Like, okay, I'm not condoning like a lot of things that King of Pole has done or whatever. But he does like there's some people that he's gone after that are genuinely terrible people. Like one particular guy that lives in Miera in a tin shack. But you know, it is what it is, man. A lot of these old heads go to war with each other. So
true.
Yeah.
It's like you got banned and then you just like were frozen in time and then you're like, oh, who was I beefing with 5 minutes ago? Oh, right, that guy. You know, like
in some case, who was I beefing with 6 years ago?
Yeah, and it's just like, sir, it's been 8 years. You've been in a coma. Oh boy.
Like you know,
I can't wait to go to the latest MPI conference.
You like take him out and like you tear down the brick wall and you see like Methuselah and the other.
You're like, wait a second.
You can come out now. You can come out. Yeah, like that album cover for
yeah.
Doomsday. Yeah, what was that? What did that cover?
Someone made an edit of that cover actually recently. I have to find it on Twitter. One? Yes.
A Countdown to Destruction, or
yeah, it was Countdown to Destruction.
Yeah, yeah.
Who posted it? I'm gonna have to go find it on Twitter now.
I'm gonna make one where it's like Will Stoncil or someone like that. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, you take him out of you tear down the brick wall. It's like, you can come out now. You can come. It's the world's different. You can come out now.
Oh man, it would be like fucking. What was that? What was that? Christopher Walken played the dad. Brendan Fraser was the son. They like got in the nuclear bunker.
Oh yeah!
Blast from the past.
Blast from the past. Like old heads that get banned on YouTube. Blast from the past. Yeah, yeah.
And they're all like,
his love interest, was it Kristen Stewart? Was it Reese Witherspoon?
I think it was Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah, it was Reese Witherspoon. Yeah.
Kristen Stewart wasn't. No, she was the Twilight actress. Were you thinking Kirsten Dunst?
I was thinking Kristen Dunst. Yeah,
she was in Small Soldiers.
She was in. Oh yeah, that was like one of my favorite movies when I was a kid.
Same.
That was a great movie. Phil Hartman. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Gorgonzolas.
Yeah.
The Gorgonzolas. That was pretty good. I think my favorite war was World War II. That was
it was my favorite war.
I think that was my favorite war. That was a pretty good. God, R.I.P. Phil Hartman. You know. Can you imagine Phil Hartman, if he was alive today? He probably would be a MAGA chud.
I would hope so, but I also know to never meet your heroes, so I'm pretty sure he'd probably be a pretty huge shit lib.
Yeah,
he'd be like returning to host SNL in 2017 to talk about how awful Trump is.
He'll like play Trump.
I hate to be that guy. I hate to be that guy, but yeah, Phil Hartman probably would have been a huge like anti-Trump shit lib.
I don't know why they got Alec Baldwin to play Trump. He doesn't do a good Trump.
Because he just basically did Jack Donahue from 30 Rock, but with like a Trump impression. It was awful.
Who is what's her name? McCarthy? Who is the political thing she used to play on SNL? Remember
McCarthy? Do you mean Tina Fey?
No, the fat one. The fat one.
Oh, I don't know what she did.
It was like some politician that people didn't forgot about 5 minutes ago.
Well, clearly it worked because I don't
Melissa
know
McCarthy, yeah.
No, I know who she is. I just don't remember who she parodied on SNL. I just don't know who she was making fun of.
SNL. It was a speaker. Sean Spicer. Spicer. That's an
the
reference right
press
there.
Secretary.
Yeah, the press secretary.
He's trying to redeem his image by going on fucking Dancing with the Stars.
Something like that. Yeah, Sean Spicer.
Man, no one.
Jem Paskey. Can you imagine Melissa McCarthy trying to play Jem Paskey?
They would just they would put her in a red wig and a push-up bra.
Sorry, Psaki.
Yeah,
Forgot her name is Psaki. Yeah, that's funny though. Nobody remembers Sean Spicer anymore. Nobody cares.
Because he was there for 3 months.
Yeah, and they made fun of him, and it's like, why do they make fun of him?
Because the first thing the first thing they did is that they were just. The first thing that he gave a press interview for, and it was about the size of the inauguration crowd, and he's like, "This is the largest one ever," and even the media was just like, "I don't know how true that is." And so that's what he got remembered for, was the guy who would lie for Trump. And nothing has really changed.
Oh, by the mainstream media, and they demonized him for months. Yeah. Because
he had to play because again, it's not like Trump knew who the hell what he was doing. When he, won. And so it's he just had to work with the very short bench that was not very deep to pick people. Hence why I'm not all that.
That's true.
So yeah. I mean, only time will tell with what we got to deal with now.
Yeah, that's true. Apparently Dave Mustaine dropped the sacred word recently. Is that true?
The hard R.
I haven't seen news or I haven't seen a Metal Sucks article about it. So,
probably not.
From Louder 2 weeks ago, if myself and Dave Mustaine could have coexisted, Megadeth would have been a very different band. Kerry King says, "Well, yeah, it would have been." I'm not gonna. I don't know. I shouldn't disrespect, but I'm not a very big fan of Kerry King's playing or Kerry King as a person, but put it this way, all the memorable songs in Slayer come from Jeff Hanneman. That's just a fact, okay? Nobody goes there and says, I'm a fan of Kerry Burger King's playing style. It's like, no, I'm sorry, okay? It's not over. Happening. It's over. Dave Mustaine had so many great guitarists that came through Megadeth. Glenn Drover, Chris Broderick, Marty Friedman. It's just like, I don't think, like, when people think of all the guitarists in Megadeth, yeah, Chris Poland, I don't think Kerry King comes to mind when it comes to, like, I shouldn't talk mad smack. It's just like Kerry King. I remember when Jeff Hanneman died, Kerry King said, I don't really care because Jeff Hanneman's worm food because I'm like a fedora tipper. And it's like, bro, like, that guy was your brother for like multiple decades. And you'd be like, oh, he's just worm food, man. Like, it was disgusting. Kerry King is just, never mind. Any memorable song you can think of from Slayer comes from Jeff Hanneman. I'm sorry. I know some people for some reason like Kerry King, but it's just I can't abide by it.
It had to be said.
It had to be said. I know I shouldn't say it, but it had to be said. Jeff Hanneman was the best. So, oh man, it was great. I saw Slayer before Jeff Hanneman died, so I'm pretty lucky in that regard. But yeah, it's very unfortunate he died too. I think they say like he may have died of alcoholism, but it was some kind of like infection or something. I don't know. It was like he did live a precarious life, but you know, it is what it is. R.I.P. to a legend. Unfortunately, like, I hate to say it, but like the wrong guitarist from Slayer. No, I'm not gonna finish that. I'm not gonna finish that. But I will say I would have traded Kerry King for Jeff Hanneman. That's just, that shouldn't be a controversial statement, but you know, it is what it is. Let's read a little bit more. But you know, before I go back into metal lore, But I was a fan of Marty Friedman. I really like Chris Broderick. Of course, like, I have like a nostalgia thing because, like, you know, Chris Broderick was in Nevermore, and Nevermore is my favorite band. R.I.P. Warrell Dane. But you know, I mean, he did have like so many great guitarists at his disposal that but anyways, who's the recent one? I think Kiko left Megadeth. I think he's got another lead guitarist.
We're almost at 3 hours, Gio. We could probably call it here.
Let's read one more page. Nationalism was from now on primarily the effort of every particular nation to win a fixed and indisputable place inside of the world society being formed. Boy, isn't that a true statement, especially nowadays, right?
What a truth.
Yeah. The truth nuke. Yeah. In view of the density of which planetary politics in the meantime has reached through imperialism, nationalism had to exactly fit in with the character of planetary politics. Henceforth, the constitution of the nation as an independent state constituted the only possibility of its participation in a world society which one could not stay away from without committing long-term political and economic sunsetting. From this perspective, the new additions of Eastern European and Balkan nationalisms can be better understood. The question of the homogenization of the national space is not posed here, especially was communistic rule practiced over and above homogenization, leveling, and atomization, i.e. the breaking up or fragmentation of society into individuals. But the main effort concerns the immediate and thus far possible most advantageous incorporation in world society. And so here he will talk about traditionalism as well, which we didn't have enough time because, again, Kondylis is a very dense writer. But he does talk about traditionalism as also springing up contrary to planetary politics. Far from it, traditions, especially in modern world, exist and take effect in accordance with the interpretation of concrete barriers. They're constructed on the basis of pre-given, but also freely processed or inverted invented materials and are summoned against other traditions or interpretations of traditions. So again, very complex stuff that Kondylis is writing about. Maybe in another DA we'll talk about traditionalism more in the writings of Kondylis, but for almost 3 hours. Well, we have some more stuff to talk about, but is there any other news to talk about? Any other hot takes, or people are freaking out about Blue Sky, or no?
I think that no, I think I'm good.
All right. So please need those super chats. Anything, really anything helps. And it's like yeah.
Got some big expenses there, Gio. You saving up for anything?
Yeah, maybe. So what MILFs are you into this week, Gio? Oh my god. There's only one MILF in my heart. Anyways, why is Megadeth the choice of the Chuds? I reached this conclusion 50 years ago. It seems everyone else ends up the same. Well, I think because like Megadeth is like more sophisticated, but it does have like Chud energy there.
Oh yeah.
Like it does, yeah, like there is something very like uplifting about Megadeth, the way that like there is in Pantera.
It's groiperous.
Yeah, it's groiperous, exactly. So anyways, let's get to the super chats, and please need those super chats, either YouTube or the entropy link up above. We always love reading your questions, and we always give you as much content as your questions provide when it comes to supers. I mean, we've spent 20, 30 minutes on one super chat sometimes. So I thought Sabaton was
I really would like to give a lovely shout out to a gentleman on Twitter by the name of Sloppy Joe Stalin, who has been using like Stable Diffusion stuff to make little clips of the show. Like, so the last time we had Gio host, we had a super chat about, the election. And we were talking about the issue about the, abortion costing Republicans the election. And he had said Gio and James Kirkpatrick go to get the crystals. Just and I think it was like our friend Owen Zaleski who had changed his name, saying like Gio go in the crystal, and you were mispronouncing it, and he did a whole clip on that. I thought that was very funny. His Twitter @ is and then sports, and I would highly recommend that you go follow his stuff. It's pretty entertaining. He's a very loyal fan of the show.
Oh yeah. Wait, let's see. You
can go pull it up. I thought it was pretty well done.
Can you hear it?
No, you have to share the audio tab. Like when you share a screen, you have to press the little box at the bottom that says share audio.
Oh. Wait. Okay. Stop. Share screen.
You see it down there at the bottom?
Mute website. Wait. Okay.
It's not playing, is it?
It's not. Wait. I don't think I have that option.
Here, I'll do it. Present. Share screen. Let me go find the tab real quick so people know what I'm referring to. Mentions. There it is. Okay, now I can go do this, and let me go hide my fucking DMs so people don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, there we go. Alrighty. Share screen. Also share tab audio. Yes, this one. Share. Oh, wow. Well, whenever you want to let me. Okay, cool. So you should be able to hear it now. And let me know if you can, Gio.
Oh my god, look at this. Yeah, I can hear it.
There you go.
Gio's Gowan into crystal. Gio's Gowan. What is Gowan into crystal? Is that a form of crystal? Gio's Gowan into crystal for $3.
Going into crystal.
Gio's go. Oh my god. Gio's going into crystal. Oh my god. 10,000 years in the crystals for Kirkpatrick and Gio. Apologize for blackpilling on abortion. If it's going to save me from 10,000 years, me and James Kirkpatrick, I mean, do we have to share a crystal? Like, I wouldn't mind that. I mean, we talk a lot, me and James Kirkpatrick. That would be cool. Oh my.
So yeah, that is from our friend and then at and then sports Sloppy Joe Stalin. He's a good fan of the show.
That's crazy because that mimics my hand gestures perfectly. That's really crazy. That's really creepy what AI can do. But you know what I really loved was when I did the sigh and I looked down, the frog looked down. That was great. That was amazing. That's amazing.
He did one of my Friday night tweet edit that was like a frog doing the whole dance. I was really impressed.
Oh man, that's such Kino. That's I'm like, well, and then the way that my hands go up in the face, well, if it saves me and James Kirkpatrick from 10,000 years of the Cresta. Oh man, that's crazy. I like that one. That's insane. I have to save that video.
I did. Anyways. I even posted it to my Telegram. I thought that was too good not to share.
Oh man. But anyways, need those super chats, boys and girls, and we will get to them on YouTube and Entropy. Although I prefer Entropy, the link is in pinned comment. DA the anime. One day.
All right. It will be the weirdest slice of life anime you have ever seen.
Yeah. So first for our good friend Sam153 for $10 US. Great War Report appearance as usual, Jill. Yeah, so after the stream, please go to the War Report, Constantine Martelli's channel. Let me just put it in the description because we talked about a lot of very good and interesting things about European nationalism and the politics of America and what's going to happen with the geopolitical situation of the Trump regime or the incoming Trump regime. And we talk also about Spenglerian world history as well. So let me just share it and I will promote it more tomorrow, but because I was promoting, I don't like to promote more than one thing a day. So I will promote the stream tomorrow or the episode. So there you go. It's in the description, and you could go to Constantine Martelli's channel. I told him to change the channel name to the War Report so people know. But anyways, so yeah, see those super chats, fellas. And so thank you very much, Sam153, and then Seneca for another $10. Missouri lore. Missouri was almost refused statehood in 1819 thanks to the abolitionists in Congress. Is that the same 1819 project from the Nicole Hannah Black or whatever?
No, that's the 1619 project.
1619 project. Was almost refused statehood thanks to the abolitionists in Congress. An amendment called the Talmadge Amendment was attached to the Missouri Enabling Act of 1819. The amendment would force Missouri to ban slavery in order to join the United States. The amendment led to the Missouri Compromise of 1820.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, Missouri could have been an autonomous state within America. That's crazy. Who was it that said I have a good speaking voice in the chat? Well, what's funny, because I remember a lot of people have criticized me over the years for reading too fast, and certainly when I did the episode of Canonical for Leibowitz, I did tend to read very fast because I was flipping through the pages when I should just pause the recording and then found the pertinent page. But yeah, I'm getting better at the public reading, which is kind of it is a challenge for some people, but you have to have a good reading voice. I think has to have a rhythm and has to have a bounce, you can't be totally monotone. So Nicole Hannah Black sounds a lot like Kunli Drugpa burner account.
I thought it was Nicole Hannah Jones.
Well, her name is Bay Wells on Twitter, but it is Nicole.
Oh,
Hannah
Ida
Black.
Bay Wells.
Ida Bay Wells, yeah, which is a reference to some type of
Ida B. Wells, a very famous early American feminist.
Yeah, she was the first African American female journalist. Yeah. and you know, I'm sure like if you went to American history classes, that's like one of the main. She was an American investigative journalist, sociologist, educator, and early leader of the civil rights movement. Founder of the National Association for the Advancement of Color. Oh, she founded the NAACP.
She was one of the founders, yes.
One of the founders, yeah. There was other founders too.
And didn't have as much control as they initially would hope for at the very beginning.
Yeah. Well, let me say Nicole Hannah Black does not hold a candle to the original Eddie B. Wells. So that's, I mean, I can't, it should go without stating, though. It should go without stating. It's just, I feel it's such a crime that that's her Twitter handle. When you really think about it, like, she's such a midwit that, like, it's just, I don't know. It's a travesty, man. It's like,
I would agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So anyways, Graham McCann for $5.
Great name.
Great name. Graham McCann. How have you been liking Fish Tank Season 3, Gio? I like Burt, Binks, and Taylor. What do you think about the reveal to them that it was Fish Tank? Frank Hassel is hassling them right now. Well, I've seen a little bit of hassling. I shall admit that I haven't like obsessively watched every single waking moment of Fish Tank like I did with Season 1. But the clip channels on YouTube and on Twitter are pretty good. I think Burt is the content. People give Missy a lot of crap, but like Missy, I mean, I don't know. There's something about her. But I think like Burt clearly is the star along with Alex. I mean, Alex is like kind of like you know, a pathetic character. But I mean, it is kind of funny that they thought they were going in some like weird influencer house, but they revealed that it was Fish Tank Live. That was a novel concept because I know that like Jet and the crew, they struggled with getting people that don't know about the show. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, it's going, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think Season 3 is certainly interesting, but like, there was a particular like theory cell attraction and magic to Season 1. I don't know. It was very, like, even like the humming noise of the empty rooms from the cameras, like something about it, you know, was very, I know this is like so played out, but like there was something very like liminal spacey about it, you know, but anyways, Charlie Mackey for US $20. Thank you, Charlie Mackey. Good evening. I hope you're both doing well. Thank you, Charlie Mackey. And then the comments entropy, American Arbiter says the left's control of language is why the ruling GOP is now run by former Democrats. The liberal frame is so entrenched in the American mind outside ideas is like taking political psychedelics. Well, that's very true. It's very true.
Especially when we were talking about the whole Nancy Mace drama earlier.
Yeah. There's like it's funny enough, there was like a lot of talk in the alt-right about psychedelics. And even nowadays, there's a lot of like Silicon Valley people that have like at least a passing knowledge of the E-right.
Well, and there was even a huge sort of 3-part back and forth about psychedelics. And I remember Marcel, of all people, was given a huge shit fit about it. And I know Owen talked about it. I think Ben Braddock talked about it. It felt so out of left
2017-ish.
Well, yeah, but also like kind of out of left field. Like, really, out of all the shit to talk about, psychedelics?
Yeah, I know, eh?
But like, I guess like conservative media, and IM is included on that front. Like, that their whole point now is to seize the momentum, and I guess to just talk culture pieces.
Yeah, not gonna lie. Like, I was one of those people back in the day, you know, back in the 2000s. But the psychedelics. But anyways,
I did see like a paid advertisement on Twitter about it, where it was talking about like, you know, the future of social drinking, and it was like, we're out with the booze, in with the microdosed carbonated beverage. And I was like, that's good luck with that.
Oh my god. Yes, Cernovich can't stop talking about psychedelics. Bat versus stoned ape theory. What would Terrence McKenna make of the Bronze Age mindset? I wonder. He probably would like shriek in terror. He'd you know, would be for him. Because like Terrence McKenna very much was like a pro matriarchy cult type of person. He had like a lot like, now that I can like look at Terrence McKenna with clarity, like, not to say that like what was that guy's name? Yan Irving, that said he was a fad. I don't know. Some of that stuff was true because Terrence McKenna had like a lot of bonkers, like left-wing political ideas. But not to say like all of his stuff was invalid, but like now that I'm like looking at it in hindsight, there is a lot of strange things going on there. But anyways, Serbian's cat or good friend Serbian cat for $5. Prude's French stripper Asmer Wen.
No.
French, no. You'd rather do the Henry Kissinger ASMR?
No, I'd rather not do any of that.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Oh my God.
I don't know a French Canadian accent very well. Now that I know that it was a Quebecois stripper, I have to do the voice, Gio.
Oh my God.
You're too good for them. Surely one day you'll find a nice girl.
And here we go, Owen Zaleski, but his name is
let's see if you fuck up this one.
Geo Simpin Furry Girls. Geo Simping Furry Girls?
For e-girls.
I need furry girl. No, it said furry girls. I get 4 e-girl.
And he screwed it up, gents.
Oh my God.
Sloppy Joe Stalin, you get another episode to make.
I need to find a way to play cans.wave. We have to find a way to play it. Can you find a wave file on YouTube, Prude, and play it?
I can for the next episode.
All right. Geo Simpin for e-girls. Oh my God.
That's so
But you know what's funny is a Ghost actually is calling out pretty hard. Like he's like a never Trumper now. Even though he came out of retirement in 2016, because people don't know the deep Ghost True Capitalist Radio lore. He was retired for 5 years after 2012 when the trolls were getting to him so hard that he retired for 5 years, and then he came back when Trump was elected, and now he's a weird boomer con never Trumper, and anyways. It's sad, man, because Ghost got exactly what he wanted, which was to have just a straight up political show. But it's the magic isn't gone. The magic is gone. I hate to say it, man. The trolls, the original trolls, they kind of left. They don't care about him anymore. I mean, a lot of them were teenagers at the time, so you gotta. Anyways, everywhere at the end of time, but it's just Gio pronouncing things less and less accurately. Oh my God.
Finally, a good everywhere at the end of time take besides mine.
Oh my God. Anyway, so Owen Zaleski / Geo Simping for E-Girls says, "Hello, gents. I'm glad you're both doing well and that I'm able to help bring the DA anime to life. Speaking of anime, I drew a little gift for you both. Please pray for my cousin as he is in the hospital for a diabetes diagnosis. Thank you." Oh, we'll pray for your cousin, Owen. Thank you.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, we're sad to hear that. But you drew an anime of us?
He said a GIF.
Oh, a GIF. Oh.
Well, just add us on Twitter or send it in our respective Telegram chats. And
yeah.
I will definitely be posting that later.
And so please, fellas, if you can sneak some last-minute super chats. So here's only one YouTube one for $2 by Port Film Co-op. PMC Christ was a good episode, good guest. Thank you. Yeah, so PCM Christ, we had a great episode about his book, Give Up the Ghost, and about right-wing postmodernism and literature. And we actually talk about a surprising bit of theology as well, Gnosticism and natural theology and stuff like that. So it was pretty good. Go buy his book, Give Up the Ghost. It's a fun read. It's very meaningful, and it's a different take on the sort of Southern Gothic noir genre. So, anyways, if there's any last minute super chats. Oh, by the way, I think Port Film Co-op, he sent me an email about we were talking about films one time or something, or I know
that Port Film Co-op is also on Frodi's Decameron Film Festival, which I will be on. I will be live with Frody covering the movie Prayer of the Roller Boys, December 7th at 12 p.m. Eastern.
That's good.
Yeah.
Nice. I'll never get an invite, but it's all right. No, but he sent me an email that I'll probably read on the next public version of Content Minded. So next Content Minded probably this week. I recorded a bunch of stuff while I was driving. This week it'll be about political theology, antinomianism, and I'll probably read his email he sent me in the public version. So poorly advertised right-wing independent author Groiper.
So
that's
true.
very true. So true. But yeah, go find PCM Christ, Give Up the Ghost. It's very good. And and recently I bought Keith Woods' book as well. And I think there's been other publishing in the scene. So I think Biz Archives published another edition of Aegeon magazine, and there's other stuff too. So anyways, this has been great. Another episode in the bag, and we will see you next week on Prude's channel. And like I said, that go and watch the War Report. Go and watch that Content Minded. And Prude, what do you have? Did you publish anything?
I'm going to tell you to share your screen so we can share Owen's little artwork here.
All right. Where is it? Did you do it?
I just put it in the private chat here.
Oh, okay. Okay, let me.
I saw it, Owen. I'm going to have him share screen, and then Jay Ford is being a groiper.
All right. Let's go to it. Paste and go. Oh my God. Oh. Last minute super chat for $5. Jay Ford, last minute super chat grabber. Thank you, Jay Ford. But let me share screen over here. And,
I have no words. I'm always impressed by this stuff. So a little gift for the cool guys on the Digital Archipelago. So there's D.A. Chan.
D.A. Chan.
There you go. There she is. And
that's incredible.
And I like how the frog has the fez, and then I have the tie and the mustache. That's really well done. Look at that. God. Hold on. I want to pause for 2 seconds. Look at those 15 unread messages on his Twitter notification bar on the left. This man doesn't reply to shit on anything that we do. It took like 3 emails, constant taggings just for Gio to do the freaking last picture show with last things. I don't know what we cover on this show until usually 2 days before. I want everyone to know that this man right here does not answer his messages to save his life. You are on notice. The next time you share screen, that message notification better be 0. Men and women are counting on you to reply in a punctual manner.
Oh my God. Roast that fraud, Prude. No, it's just because like I had to turn the DM notifications on my phone because it was like literally coming in like every second. Like it's just truth nukes have been dropped. Truth nukes have been dropped. Oh my God. Most of those are just DM groups, though, so it's like
this is not looking good for GeoCoin.
I drift in. I have like tons of like request messages that I should just like. Oh man, Geo on notice. Geo's half-hearted excuses, Groiper. GeoCoin on Solanas. I think Mike Solanas blocked me actually years ago for some reason. I don't know. Oh, look at this! Look at this! Geo stocks going down every second, barely over a dozen DMs. No, but those, I mean, I'm talking like group chats.
One of those messages is me asking you to post DA Chan on screen. This looks very good for Frogcoin.
Geo stock at all-time lows. Sell. Gio replying to my e-girl DMs. Groiper at Frogcoin. Oh, you people are terrible. Let's see if there's any more. See if there's any more super chats. No. So oh my God, DHN stocks going up. DHN on Solanas coin. Jim Cramer saying to buy GeoCoin. You watch out. Someone will make a giant GeoCoin, I guarantee you. And I will see none of the
it's gonna have this Norwood Groiperous face.
Yeah.
And Gio will not see a dime of this great shitcoin.
Oh my God. They're gonna have memes of Gio. It's like the official Twitter page, kind of like like Chudjack on Sol.
Yeah.
Or
the Fat GF token.
The Fat GF token. No, but that's such a great name though, Chudjack on Sol. But like then it's like Mike Solanas. It's like like it's but Sol like as in like Sol Bra or like like that's such a great name, Chudjack on Sol. It's just like it's got like a verb to it, it's got like a coolness. A tasteful Norwood TM, Plopjock pennies. Plopjock pennies. That's terrible.
Plopjack pennies.
Someone made a Plopjock. Okay, on Fish Tank Live, they brought in quote unquote Alex's wife, which is like this obese woman that kind of looks like Banks on Fish Tank. And so someone made a Plopjock of Alex and his wife, quote unquote, on Fish Tank Live Season 3. So, okay, let's end the stream now. Oh my God. Talking about Plopjock. All right, we'll see you all, boys and girls. This has been another great stream in the bag. We love you.
Yeah, this was a great stream. This was a fantastic conversation. It's been a really good run, 109 episodes. It's just, this is the final
really
one.
High energy.
Really high energy. We ended the show strong. I'm glad. 109 episodes, something to really be proud of. Shame to see it end.
Yeah, it's irreconcilable differences.
Yeah, Gio and I are getting a divorce. It's over.
Yeah, it's over. It's so over. So you have to buy GeoCoin so I can pay my alimony.
That's true. Yeah, I got quite a bit of nice ice front property in Canada, and he owes me a lot of money and background.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll see y'all next week.
We're gonna sue each other into the Stone Age when the DA ends. So 110 DA episode Groiper.
Yeah, I guess we'll see y'all next week.
I'm gonna hate you too, kid. Look at this. Next fan will be a Plopjock. Oh no.
Oh, it's too late. Yeah, it's been spoken.
It's been spoken into existence.
Spoken into existence.
Geo rebranding as a coin enthusiast account history is finished. Oh my God.
It's over.
I don't know the first thing about crypto. Like I could have got into crypto, but like I just don't know the first thing. DHN Groiper. We're gonna see that, like kind of like Mika Groiper.
DHN is Groiper. Nice. It's nice.
Anyways, we'll see you all. It's over. We'll never be back. Over. So this has been a great finale.
Yeah.
And we'll see you. We'll see
you next week, kids.
See you next week. God bless. God bless. Goodbye. Too sweet.